to Authentic as Fuck. Hi, Jelena. How's your day going? How's your week?
I'm proud of myself because I had some meeting with my supervisor, and usually I almost chicken out when I need to see my supervisor, but I was like, no, Jelena, you're gonna go there and you're gonna say whatever you want to say, but this is what you need to do. So I've done it, and it was good, and I was nervous. Yeah, but I
Why?
survived.
Why did you have to? What did you have to say?
I need to speak about my problems. So some things where it's kind of problematic that you have two sides, and if my point of view in this case particularly, if it was too strict, if I was rigid, or this is good actually. So some kind of discussions around rules. This one question that I asked. So
I don't understand. You you're self-employed, right? You have your own clients.
yes,
So why
but
do you have a supervisor?
yeah, because I work under contract, and I'm not a licensed psychotherapist yet. I'm licensed counselor,
Oh, really?
psychotherapist. Yes.
So what do you
So
need to get to licensed?
I need to finish some exam, which I postpone because you don't have a date. It's not strict. You can do it whenever you want in your life. So yeah, I do that. When I look at myself in the mirror, I do the same look, but it doesn't help me. So yeah, there is some exam that I avoid because you're never sure what you're doing right, and this is why okay, when I read more about this topic, then I will do it. And then I read, so this is the part when I actually improve all the time, but it's never ending process. You can never say, okay, now I got this,
Mhm.
but you need to say stop it, so stop it and do it, so whatever,
Well,
just avoid.
that's one thing that um like because I've had my own business for a long time now. And
Hmm.
one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is this, right? Like a lot of people are super productive, they can get a lot of shit done, and they can be held accountable, but most of them can't do it for themselves. So
Yeah.
when I look at most new entrepreneurs, well, most of them quit, but when I look at most entrepreneurs, they were actually more productive and they got much more done when they worked in a 9 to 5 job than they work for themselves.
Yeah.
Because when they work for themselves, they have complete freedom. They can do whatever they want, or not do whatever they want. They don't keep
Too
themselves
many
to a deadline.
choices. Too many
Hmm.
choices.
So
So
what ends up happening is, think about it. Like if a company is paying you a certain salary, they're paying you that salary because they're making that money back in multiples. They're getting a return from paying you. That's why
yeah.
they do it, right? And so you're definitely worth at least multiples of that, your salary that you've been getting. So why can't people that start their own business like make at least what the profits that the company that hired you is making plus more, right? Well, it's
Yeah.
because that company knows how to get the work out of you by forcing you to come to work, forcing you to take the exam, forcing you to do these things, whereas in you don't know how to do it for yourself.
Exactly.
And that this is one thing that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to entrepreneurship.
Exactly. I mean, people say that you will work even more when you work for yourself, which maybe is true. This is also
I mean,
part
you
of,
work more hours, doesn't
yes,
mean you work more.
exactly. Exactly, because in my case, um you have work and you have smart work. So smart work would be for me to finish this exam and not to have obligatory supervision, so I can do that when I need it. I still have
Hmm.
my colleagues to consult with. So I would still have some mentor if I need to consult with. So, but I would take this burden off my chest with finishing that.
The pressure
But
is not there. Yeah.
yeah, so this would be smart work. But on a daily basis, when I get up and I'm like, okay, I should start working on this question because you have some kind of paper things to do, theoretical and practical things. Like, I don't feel like it today. Let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm accepting clients. I'm working. I have more working hours. I'm reading a lot. So definitely, I'm better than I was like 5 years ago. But I'm not doing the smart work, which is to finish boring things and some things that maybe are not that important in the long run, but that are important right now.
Uh, I actually think that I became less productive and I learned less when I started like doing more personal development and learning, trying to learn stuff. Like like when I try to work on myself and try to learn, watching these YouTube videos, reading books and things like that, I actually learned less and I became less productive. I was way more productive and I was, way more successful and more successful at learning stuff and things like that when I was just working and doing the work. Like,
Yeah.
because I didn't get into this whole personal development thing until like 5 6 years ago. Before that, I just focused on my business, you know.
Yeah, but it's interesting. For example, you have this book, Getting Things Done,
Hmm.
where this guy is sharing some advices like how to organize stuff, and there are some things that are obvious like logically, but for some reasons we don't do it. If for a task you need less than 2 minutes to do, finish it right now, don't postpone it, which is good. But if you start to plan that and then to make a list
Yeah.
and organize things on with categories,
Uh,
it's kind of a messy thing. You never come back to revisit that. It's not like natural thing to do, to go through a phone and through a list and to see, okay,
uh,
for this category in my life I should do this right now. Yeah.
yeah, that doesn't work for me. That's why I don't really make to do list.
But do you make Yeah, but you have put everything in your calendar, which is also a to-do
I
list.
mean, I do make to do lists, but like I just basically just write down what I have to do. It's not like I have like a whole system. Like, some
Yeah.
people have like a system, a to do list, prioritizing and all. Like they block out like every single little tiny. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah. I've tried to do it, but it's kind of not my cup of tea. The building the second brain, and you have like
The productivity tools, yeah,
yeah, and in Notion you have like a map. One guy made
yeah.
completely like complex map on every part of your life, like a, I don't know, like a giant bookmark place. This is
You know what?
imagine that.
Even if that is helpful, I still don't. I still wouldn't do it because, like, you ever watch Wonder Woman with Gal Gadot?
No.
So in Wonder Woman, there's a scene where the guy goes into the Wonder Woman's world,
Okay.
and he has a watch, right? And in that world, there's no watch, and he's like, "What's that?" Right? It's like, "Oh, it's a watch. It tells me like what time it is. Tells me like when I should do this. When it was like." And Wonder Woman goes like, "You let that little thing tell you what to do." But that's exactly how I feel. I feel like we're born on this earth to live life, not to make
Yeah.
everything productive so that we have all these softwares and tools telling us what to do. That's not life. Do you know what I mean?
True. True. Yeah. I'm thinking, I guess, it also depends from this, the conscientious trait,
Hmm.
because when I think about my friend, she's, she has very high score in conscientiousness and in orderliness. So everything, she cannot forget things. She just has that on her. She doesn't make lists. She doesn't use plans or paper to write something. Um, so she doesn't have a pen. So she doesn't have books in her home. she doesn't use it. So she's like, okay, I need to finish this, I'll do it, and that's it. But in my case,
I love
no.
people like that.
Me too. Me too. They're so simple.
I'm the opposite of that.
Me too. So
The problem with those people, though, is that they're not very creative.
yeah,
But sometimes I wish that I was like that. You know. Uh,
yeah.
Also, it's kind of like, when you come on this podcast, right? Like
Mhm.
when I go live, when I go on Sunday service, right? Something that, or like in the morning when you take a shower, you get dressed to go to work, and you sit at your desk and you're in the office. Something about that, there's a different level of alertness there in your brain, and I can feel it, right? Even when I hit that record button, I can feel it, right? But also, like, something about like getting dressed for work, commuting to work, and then sitting there with all the hustle and bustle going on around the office, and then you're doing work,
Mhm.
versus me sitting on the couch on my laptop, like, trying to do work like that. There's like a huge difference in alertness level, and
Yeah.
like productivity suffers a lot. And I think a lot of people think that they can just sit in the couch and just, or like, sit in their,
Yeah.
porch and do that. But it's not the same thing.
But it looks logical. If you have time, you will do it. You just don't have time. So it's kind of logical to think that time is the problem, or that you don't have enough money. But when you go a little bit under the surface, you see that we are lazy. Most of us are
Hmm.
lazy by nature. I mean, our brain can get very lazy, so you need a constant reminder um, to do something about it. So I guess so. I mean, even conscientious people are lazy in terms of doing something new. My mom could eat an oatmeal on every trip where you have like you can choose whatever you want for breakfast from the hotel. She will choose an
Hmm.
oatmeal, and this is it. So I guess she would need like conscious stimulation on her brain to think about doing something differently. She would go the same way from her home to her work and back.
But
That's
you
it.
think she was always like that? Because like I noticed that what happens is, as we age, we
Hmm.
want to take less risks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's why, like, the usually, if you look, like, not always, but on average, if you look at like people on the left, progressives, they're
Mhm.
usually younger, right? If you look at the conservatives, they're usually a little bit older. And I think the reason why is because, like, the like, here's a perfect analogy. I forgot where I heard this, but when, if you, let's say you're in the middle of the field, right, middle of nowhere, and there's a fence there for some reason, and you don't know why it's there. What progressives do is they're like, oh, this is stupid, let's just take it out. What conservatives do is, oh, let's try to figure out why this fence is here.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I thought that was such like a great analogy for how they think.
Yeah.
And like the answer is somewhere in between, right? Like, if it's like an old thing and there's no reason for it, we should get rid of it, right? And we should change it. We should make progress. But at the same time, we shouldn't throw out the baby with the bathwater. We shouldn't just assume that this is stupid and just get rid of it without actually giving it any thought, because there might have been reason why that was there. Do you know
Hmm.
what I mean?
Yeah. Um, yeah, this just reminds me like an awkward reminder from a few days ago when I visited my parents, and as we were waiting for my mom to get out from the store, I noticed in one corner that there is some store or some place that is nothing was open so far in that place. And I was like, what's this? And you had like a tree with lights and with, these shiny
You mean
things.
Christmas tree?
Yeah, Christmas tree. And I was like, this is strange. What's this? And I was asking my father, like, what's this? Or I don't know. I was like, okay, whatever. But I couldn't. What's that? So I was like, wait, I need to check. And it was dark, it's kind of a, darkish there. So I approached it. I was like, I need to see. But, windows are, you cannot see through the glass, that
Hmm.
type of glass. So I was sneaking, like, is it like one way glass? So I was like,
Hmm.
and part of me wanted to grab for, to open the door. But I was like, I'm scared. I don't know who's maybe on the other side. What if it's open? So then I was like, okay, I've checked this. I don't know what
Hmm.
this is, but this is enough. So this is like a conservative part of me, like, okay, this is here. We don't know, but it's too risky to just explore.
Yeah.
So let me
But
go.
what would have like 10-year-old Jelena done?
Oh, I would
You
probably
just
open.
open the door.
Yeah,
That's what I mean. As people get older, they change.
yeah, yeah.
So that's actually what I want to ask you about. Like I've definitely changed a lot. I think as I got older. Like I've been thinking
Mhm.
about when I was young. Like now when I post stuff, like things trigger me very easily, right? I mean, even before I was on social media, stuff people like things that client tell me or something like that does trigger, or like when I see something, it does trigger me, right? But there was a time in my life, like for example, when I was like in my 20s or even young, like before my 20s and younger, nothing used to trigger me. There's nothing you can say or do that will trigger me. I was like a super happy person,
Hmm.
and I was curious about everything. I zero judgments. I never judge anyone, nobody.
Okay.
So I came a huge, like, I wasn't always like the way I am now, is what I realized. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Something happened that, I mean, I like, do you see this with your clients or anything like that?
To see how they changed from how they were when they were kids.
But it's not even when I was a kid. Like, even when I was like 20 or like early 20s, I wasn't like this. I wasn't like if you met me when I was like in my early 20s, you probably think I'm a totally different person.
What would I think?
Like, oh, son's like the nicest person.
And were
Oh,
you
son's like the nicest person. I love son. Okay.
okay? So,
And that did happen. I had so many friends. Like
mhm.
I just attracted so many people around me, and everybody wanted to hang out with me.
What do you think they got from you at that age?
I think I was like, I actually think that I didn't really have that much of an ego naturally. I think my ego was built in my adult life. Like, like everyone I met, I was constant curiosity. Every single person I meet, I would ask them a million questions. I was fascinated by them. I was zero judgment. Doesn't matter what you do, I will never judge you.
Hmm.
Um, Nothing that you can say, criticize about me or anything like that will trigger me. Uh,
Did you prefer some people over the other?
yeah, obviously, I think,
Yeah, yeah, but
of course.
what was the criteria? So what did you prefer?
Like, same thing. Some people are more interesting. They're more fun. They're nicer, cooler. you know.
Okay, because when you say like I was
I think for me, the people that interest me the most are the people that are the most different from me.
mm-hmm,
And the people that I judge the most are the people that are the closest to me, like most like me.
mm-hmm, I see. So they kind of naturally evoke your inner critic when you see
Yeah,
them.
because I know how I am. like, so when
Mhm.
somebody's like that, I'm like, come on, like shut up, like.
Yeah. Okay, so mm, so because when you explained that something changed, uh, you don't you don't give any right now, at least you don't give any context how what changed that.
Yeah, I
So
don't know. That's why.
yeah, but it's
And also, I'm curious. Like, is that a normal thing? Maybe like you said. Remember, the 10-year-old Jelena would have just opened the door, but now you don't. Like maybe it's something like that.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like maybe just became a lot more jaded after realizing what the world is really like. Back then, I was just full of curiosity and wonder. You know?
yeah. I mean, I would say it's not usual, you know, to in adulthood to change like that. I mean, we can change definitely, but the uh, maybe quantity of that change, it's not so big unless we had some experiences that shaken our world. Because to we are not rigid, but we tend to repeat some patterns. So to change a pattern, you need to shake things a lot, which we do when we have trauma. And like everything that we believed is something that it's not true anymore. So we need to make another meaning to include something, to learn some skill and to evolve. But in other cases, we can change with some event, like if you have a child and then you see the world from another perspective when you become a parent.
Like, for example, for example, the some of the people that I used to work with in my first job. Like if I was working there right now,
Hmm.
I would probably hate everyone and judge everyone. But actually, everyone loved me because I loved everyone back in that job.
Hmm.
I was always curious, like when yeah, like when somebody does stupid with their computer, right? Like I was like, oh, I'll fix it for you. And blah, blah, blah. Now, if somebody does something stupid with their computer, and like I've told them about it before, I'll be like, "What are you fucking stupid? Like I told you you shouldn't do that." Like, do you know what I mean?
Okay. So so let's imagine this like n- young son younger
hmm
son. And would you actually think that's kind of a stupid, but you were.
No, no. Back then, I was just like, you know, I love the fact that that person was just even talking to me.
Oh,
Like I was so naive. I think.
but it's interesting
Like
that you
not.
only that person wanted to talk to you.
I also think that I didn't think so highly of myself,
Hmm.
right? Because I worked in IT. I worked in a help desk, and like I started out like from fixing people's computer. Like so,
Hmm.
let's say in our office there's 500 people, and if somebody's printer's not working, I'll go to their office and I'll go to their desk and help them fix it. Or if their email's not working, I'll go fix it for them or something like that. And when you work in the help desk, people treat you like you're beneath them.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like how people treat like tech support people or service people. That's how they treat you. Like, so, and I didn't mind that at all. Like, even though people treated me like that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's who I am. That's what I deserve.
That's
Do you
what
know
I
what I mean?
deserve. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of a
Well, I was young too, right? So most of the people that work there are older than me. Like I didn't think that I was at the level, like at the same level as them. I
mm-hmm.
mean, some of them are like same age as me, but still, like
Okay. So part of you maybe
kind
was
of like I had a lot of humility.
yeah. I mean, it sounded like you were shy also. So it kind of
I think I'm still shy. I'm still pretty shy now.
like in this kind of conversation or in live conversation.
No, I think I'm shy naturally, but I feel like social skill is something you can learn. I think you can teach a shy person to not be
So
shy and
what would you
social
say that you're
situation.
shy about?
I mean, like my whole life, I was, you know,
No, but right now, what
uh,
are you shy about? If it's fine for you to answer.
I mean, now I'm probably less shy. Like, for example, I hate going to like parties,
Mm-hmm.
and like if I go to a party, I wouldn't talk to anyone, and I'm never the person to like initiate the conversation first. Like I know people that go to party and they'll just walk up to a stranger and like, hey, like they'll just get involved in the conversation. Like I'll just sit by myself and in the corner and drink my drink.
Would you okay? Would you have your drink and maybe hope that someone would approach you, or you would have your drink and being in your phone and like, okay, like let me do this and like totally like zoned out from the rest of the group.
Yeah, I'll be like, oh, can we go? Can we go now? Can we leave?
Okay. Well, I mean, it's interesting that as a shy person, you
I
created.
actually, you know what? I do hope that maybe somebody will talk to me, but I don't think that's what I really want. I think that's what I think. I was listening to this podcast the other day
Okay.
where this guy was talking about how there's a study done where there's a difference between what you really think versus what you think what other people would think, and then what you think you would think based on what other people think. So for example, like in this study they had people like rank 100 people on how attractive they are to the least attractive, they rank it. And then in the second one they're asked to, what do you think other people would rank, and the answer will completely change, right?
Mm-hmm.
And based on what other people rank, what do you want other people to think that you rank, how you
Mm,
rank them? So that they did three, and all three times it was different. And the same guy was also talking about how they did a study of like, when you go to a party and um, nobody is leaving, right? Like at the end of the night. But as soon as one person says, "Okay, I'm leaving,"
mm,
thank you for inviting me, then everybody starts leaving right after that. And the reason was because everybody actually wanted to leave, but they didn't want to. They didn't think it was. They didn't want other people to think that they want to leave,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And once it becomes okay that it's accepted that, like, how much of our decision of what we think we want is based on other people's perception. I guess and we don't even know. It's so subconscious that we don't even know that this is not what I really want. It's what I think what other people would approve of me or
Yeah.
something like that. Like virtue signaling, I think is like that too. Like how many people do you think actually believe that there's infinite number of genders? Probably not many. If you really, really, really like ask their subconscious, like what
Mm.
they really believe, but they just think they believe that because that's what they're supposed to. That like
I see.
that's what's accepted in.
Yeah. Or if there are differences between men and women, and
Yeah,
everything that goes in that direction is now kind of
I mean
not
that's like the
acceptable.
obvious example. Yeah,
Mm.
but there probably so many things like what food you like, right? Or what TV show you like, what movie you like, or what team do you like, what you know, like what do you like to do for fun? Why is it that everybody always
I
says
remember,
travel?
yeah, I
Like,
remember I was hiding that I like to watch romantic comedies. So romantic movies in general.
mhm.
Those that are like um
Now you can't say that. Then they're
yeah,
gonna think you're boring.
I'm boring and I'm stupid, I'm dull because it's so obvious when they met that they're gonna
Yeah,
end together, and so what's the
yeah.
point? So too
I
shallow.
also think that like I love Disneyland, like Disney World, and I love Las Vegas. Like I love the fake version of something more than the real thing, right? Because like for example, I love the fake pyramid more than the real pyramid. Like when you actually go to the real pyramid, it's kind of nasty. It's it's like hot, and you get all the inconveniences, right? It's the same thing when you actually go to Paris. It's like kind of when you go to New York City, right? Oh, the idea of New York City on TV and movies is
Mhm.
amazing, right? But when
Yeah.
you actually go to New York City, it smells like shit. There's fucking, like it's nasty. It's not what you think, right? There's a lot of ink. Like you have to in the summer, it's hot, and you have to get into subway, and like there's a lot of things that about New York City that I hate. You know what I mean? But I love New York in Las Vegas because you get all of the
Mm.
benefits of New York without any of the with all the convenience, right? But I can't say that, right? Because it's like socially when you say, oh, like everybody loves the authentic, right? Like I love like Panda Express, or I love like fake Chinese food. But you can't say that. No, you have to love the authentic.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's kind of what you're talking about with the romantic, like romantic movies, right? Like,
Yeah. Or you have that movie. Oh, what is the movie about? It's kind of a beauty or some, I think it's Italian movie, like 3 hours long. I've slept like
oh
five,
yeah, it's a beautiful life or something.
something like that.
It's like a black and white movie.
No. Um, I don't
I
know.
know what you're talking. Is it like during World War II?
No.
It's supposed to be. Oh. What is it about?
Um, it's about, well, actually, I don't know because the whole point of the movie is it doesn't have so much like the plot
Oh,
there.
Life is Beautiful. It's called Life is Beautiful.
No. But I think, yeah, it's not that. It's not that one.
But there's a lot of movies like that, like that are critically acclaimed. Like it's a must see, or it's like it's the
La
one that
grande
like
bellezza, la grande bellezza. Yeah,
The Great
great
Beauty.
beauty. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see this one.
So when it at that time when it was like the premiere, so it
Hmm.
was so popular and like, oh, this is the most beautiful movies, and in Facebook groups it was like you need to watch it, and I was like, okay, let's watch it, and then I played it. I mean, I even watched it with a guy that I had crush on. So we kind of he
Hmm.
was so into like that movie, and I slept
Maybe
the
he
whole
wasn't.
movie.
Maybe he was just pretending.
He was watching multiple times. Trust me. So this guy watched it multiple times, and so it's like 3 hours long movie. It's about architecture, about the moment. There's, I don't know, camera is moving so slow. So, and if you say that you don't like it or it's boring, so this is like a forbidden reaction because
That's
it
what
is.
I mean. Like actually, you know what? Saying that is more vulnerable. Actually, like here's the thing: when you say something like that, oh, I love romantic movies, right? Like that's actually what I love about Gigi. Like Gigi's being vulnerable without actually being vulnerable, because she just tells the truth, how she really feels, without. And I don't. And the reason why she does it is because she doesn't even realize that people are gonna judge her if she says that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, here, obviously, like it's, like most people don't go around like saying somebody's ugly or pretty, right? Or somebody's fat, or have nice body or whatever, right? But one of my friend came over, and he was telling us a story about this girl that he does yoga with, and he was showing a picture, and there was two girls in the picture, and and then like she was like, "Which one is it? The pretty one?" It's like, "Oh, it's the pretty one." And I'm like, "You can't say that." But she literally doesn't or she's like, "Oh, the fat one," or but like she doesn't actually understand. Like I don't know if she doesn't understand, or she really doesn't care, or whatever it is. But she'll say, doesn't matter how politically incorrect it is, how like
Mm-hmm.
how inappropriate it is, she'll say what's on her mind. And so many times when she says that, like everyone will be like, everyone will bust out laughing because they all get it. They all know why it's funny. It's because they were all thinking it too. They
Yeah.
just didn't want to say it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is like every time in on some video that is like full of BSs, and then you read a comment, and then with the most like it's somebody who actually
Mm-hmm.
pointed out something that was triggering, and then people like that. You have like I don't know
Mm-hmm.
10,000 likes for that
Yeah,
comment
yeah, yeah.
because somebody just said something other people thought. So
That's why I always like when I watch a movie, I pay attention to like if Gigi watches the whole movie or she just walks away or she's not interested, or if I show her like a piece of reel or content, that's how I know if something is really good or not. Because she won't bullshit. Like if she does, if no matter how critically acclaimed or everybody says this movie is amazing, and actually it's right on point.
mhm,
Whenever she actually sits through a movie and watch the entire thing, they're usually the highest rated movies. And like it's a movie that I don't personally get. I'm like, what's so good about this? But it's like she's so in touch with what most people like, and like what most
do
people don't
you
like.
remember some examples of that? Like what she
Like
really.
no, like sometimes like it'll be like some boring movie. I forgot which one. Like she like loves like action movies, like Marvel, those type of movies. But sometimes like I'll play a boring movie, right? And then like she'll actually sit through the whole thing, and she'll actually really like it, and she gets emotional. And I'm like, oh wow, that's how I know that's a good story. Do you understand what I
I
mean?
see. I see.
And same thing, like when I show her a video that I think is awesome, she'll be like, she didn't even like realize it, and then she'll just see some other video, and she'll be like, "Oh, I love this one," and then that's usually the one I post, and everybody else loves it too.
Yeah, I noticed that about my boyfriend because I remember a few times I would send him some influencer here in Serbia that are like in their vlog videos. I was like, "Oh, look, this is funny." And but they're in their car like, goofing around and he's like, "This is fake." Like she just wanna drag attention. So then I kind of start to see from his eyes like, okay, maybe I wanted so hard for this to be good, so I kind of saw something that wasn't there actually.
Like the guy that you had a crush on that went to watch the movie with. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't even actually like think it was amazing, but he needed to play this part because I went to film school, so I know how these artsy people are. Like it's in that world, you have to play into that game to be considered cool. Like maybe in the mainstream world we don't care, but
Mm-hmm.
within that circle, there's this like it's kind of like this, right? Like most Oscar Academy Award films are they're usually not uh, popular movies. Like you don't see like the Marvel movies get Academy Awards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually it's like the independent film, not the ones that only played in few theaters that wasn't that mainstream hit are usually the ones that gets nominated and wins Oscar. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? But you ever notice how nobody's ever even heard of these films, and then all of a sudden, like Academy Award nominees come out, and then now everybody has like it's like the thing that everyone has to watch, and it's all over the theaters, and like only because it got nominated for Oscar.
Yeah.
Like that's what, and like when you watch Project Runway, Project Runway
No.
with Heidi Klum, she's like she used to be a model, but it's like a fashion TV show where all these fashion designers come and they design dresses, and
Project what?
it's like Runway. It's like Top Chef, but for fashion designers. Do you know
Okay.
Top Chef? It's like a cooking show.
I've heard about it.
It's like a contest. It's like a contest for
Yeah.
fashion designers. So what
Okay.
happens is Heidi Klum is like the host, and she's like the famous person, right? So when somebody comes, how these fashion world when these runway dresses,
Mm-hmm.
like I don't get it. Whenever like I see a fashion show with these runway dresses, I'm like, oh, that shit is weird. Like I would never fucking wear that, right? Or I mean, I wouldn't wear the. But like, who would wear that? That's so weird. That's so ugly, right?
Yeah.
Like, because it's very artsy or something like that. So when I was watching Project Runway, like people would come out of the come out with their dresses that they designed, and nobody says anything until Heidi Klum says her comment first. Like it's like, oh, I
Mm,
love this, or like, and then once she says it, everybody else like chipping in, and they just basically copy what Heidi Klum says. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of how. And have you heard of that experiment where um, they have this one line in one end, and they have four options with different length lines, and
Mm-hmm.
one of them is this, and the other one is completely off. But what they do
Conformity.
is yeah, they have like five contestants basically, and the first four purposely pick the wrong one to see what the last one will do. And most
Yeah.
of the time, the last one also picks the wrong one.
Yeah. I think it's like 30 something percent, like one third of people did that. Even when, so it was an experiment in 1950s, but now
Even if it's
replicated
like way off. Yeah.
they replicated and still it's one third, would choose the wrong.
So one third of people just follow the crowd. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
That's what I
understandable.
mean. That's why. So I don't know if I actually do want people to come at a party, somebody to come talk to me, or I don't want to. But that's what I think I want. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't think they necessarily think that
Mhm.
that actually their judgment is wrong, but they are also judging the context. So, they're
Oh, so
judging
they
also
know it's wrong, but they're picking the wrong answer on
maybe.
purpose.
I'm assuming that um many people maybe didn't pay too much attention to like the explanation of what's the task, or maybe they're like, oh, this is difficult.
So they're like, oh, maybe I got something wrong. Maybe I got the instruction wrong or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they just confirm like, okay, this is not the answer, but I don't know, this is it. I mean,
Yeah.
apparently group decided, so
Mhm.
they kind of wanna, those people that in party they can dance on every music, it's there. So they are like just for the party. They are there. They don't want to
Yeah.
ruin the vibe. So okay, we agree on this. No problem.
Yeah.
So
They don't want to stand out. Yeah. You know there's actually people that are opposite of that, like contrarians, like where
Mhm.
Even if everybody picks the same answer, they'll pick the different answer on purpose. Like,
Mhm.
because they just want to be different. They just want to do the opposite of what everyone else does.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's bad too. Because that's just as bad. Like, you're still doing it for society. You're still doing it for the optics. You don't actually believe
Yeah.
this. You just want
It's
to
like,
disagree because, yeah.
I mean, think about kids that, for those kids that didn't have enough attention, that is, where their parent is showing them love and affection and praise for something good, then they are kind of left out to nothing because parents are busy, or if they make a mess, something will happen. So for our like well-being, it's much better to have that negative attention than nothing. So if you have nothing, we literally would die.
Mhm.
And like babies that have everything, they're fed, they're in warm, they're changed. So but they don't have enough presence of another human being because they're in orphanage, for example. The
Yeah,
rate of
those are
death
the ones
is
that become
higher.
sociopaths. Like,
Yeah,
they
I mean.
there was like a study done about that, of this orphanage in Russia. Like, right after the Soviet Union collapsed, there was like all these orphans in Russia,
Mhm.
and there wasn't enough nurses to take care of them. And a lot of those orphans went to be adopted in the U.S. And, like, a lot of them turns out, a lot of those babies turned out to be sociopaths, because there was like not enough nurses to, so they'll cry
Yeah.
and nobody's like paying attention to them.
So just out of but imagine that. So they're sociopaths. So they are hurting someone, and see how it's also negative attention. You need to hurt someone or to do something very bad for someone to see you.
I don't think they're, maybe, I think what it was like, these kids, these sociopath kids, like, they would like hurt animals, and they have no emotions. Like, to them, they would
Hmm.
treat animals like if they would treat like a,
Okay.
you know, a a thing. Like, so they had no compassion towards other living things.
I see.
Like, but it wasn't like they were going around trying to hurt people on purpose or anything like that. Like, I think it has to do, it also has to do with, I mean, I don't know if you heard this one, but there was this one scientist or psychotherapist or someone who was studying uh, serial killers, like brains of
Hmm.
serial killers, and he I don't know exactly what it was, but he found this pattern of serial killers or psychopaths, like, that have this thing. And then he did a experiment in his own lab, where he did a brain scan of all the staff members,
Hmm.
and it turned out there was a psychopath in there. And later on, it turned out it was him. So it's like, just because just because you have that tendency or personality,
Hmm.
doesn't mean I think you're going to act out on it either. Because I'm
Yeah.
sure there are a lot of sociopaths out there that just live normal life.
Yeah.
No. Or
So
psychopaths.
I know. So what I wanted to say, yeah, about drawing attention. So in terms of, when child doesn't have enough good attention, they would search for like bad
Bad
attention.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So,
that's
and
where you see those, like, kids that act out in class. Like,
yeah.
those kids that are like, has does something bad on purpose, just so that they can get in trouble, or like,
Yeah, I mean, this is a way to it depends from like where they're drawing their attention, because in peer
Yeah,
group it's different. If you, I
because
don't know.
there's also people that
Mhm.
feel like if you look at like Robin Williams, Jim Carrey, or like some of these comedians, like they constantly feel the need to entertain and make people
Mhm.
laugh and make they have to be funny, right? That's their identity, and that you
Yeah,
know that's how they get attention, right? And and some people do it with something else, like with sports.
yeah,
Some people might want to do it with how they look. So I guess everybody has that their
exactly,
little
exactly.
trigger. What's
That,
yours?
um, well, I think that mine is for people to be, I don't know, like for people to feel good around me, and to feel like nice, and to kind of make sure that I kind of notice that those needs that are there. So even though it's something said, but for me to, you know, act on it before
Like,
this.
what would you? Well, like, what's something that you do and it bothers you if nobody notices it?
I didn't. What I do.
Because it's because we were talking about how we like to get attention, right? So
Mhm,
some people like to get attention by making people laugh. Some people like to get attention by doing something bad, right?
mhm.
Like some people might want to get attention by whatever, like different way of getting attention, right? So like, what do you think that is for you? Like for me, it's definitely has to do with like some. I don't know if this is from childhood or not, but it definitely has to do with like intelligence or um,
Mhm.
knowing something. Like I never thought of it that. Like when somebody says I never thought of it that way, that's the way I want to get attention. Right. So if somebody doesn't say, "Oh, I knew that already,"
Mhm.
then that'll trigger me. Or
Yeah,
even worse, they just was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," and then they just move on.
yeah. So by changing someone's mind, this is
Or it's not even really changing someone's mind.
opinion. I don't know.
It's more selfish than that. It's like I knew something that you didn't know. Like it's the validation. Like changing somebody's mind is the validation that that's what happened, right? I mean, I don't believe in this. Like we talked about this. I don't believe in this like pure selfless thing.
Okay,
There's no
but you get something when someone changes their mind.
yeah. So if somebody's, let's say, a designer is like struggling and he's been struggling with this for 3 years, and then I told them something and it completely changed. They're like, oh my gosh, it's like they were in the dark and now their eyes open and now they're making so much money because of this one thing I taught them, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Yes, that makes me feel good, but not necessarily because, like, of course, I want that person to do well and all of that. But it's if that person did really well and it had nothing to do with me, I wouldn't feel the same way. It's the fact that I made that happen.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
understand what I mean?
Yeah. So, I mean, I remember last time, I think that you were quite happy because I was, for 2 weeks, I was holding my opinion about that we should be careful about how we say something, because somebody might feel hurt, someone might hurt, because
The
of,
compliment thing. Yeah.
yes. And eventually, at some point, I was like, okay, I think you're right. I'm changing my opinion. And we're like, yes, about what exactly? Just to know exactly about overall or what?
Well, was I like that? I was like that because I didn't feel like you really changed your mind.
I felt like you were, because I changed my mind.
Oh, you did. You
Yeah,
really changed your
yeah,
mind,
yeah,
or
yeah.
you just said that to make me happy.
No, no, no. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't feel satisfied with with giving you the pleasure of
It's
false
like no.
false opinion. Yeah, yeah. I really think there is something to it, and that we should not be as careful about how we say things. We can do that if we feel so, if we want to be, if we are kind, but by nature, if we are kind. If you want to be kinder, it needs to come from within us. So there is
You know
nothing
what's
I can
funny?
say.
I also think this is like a new thing too, because I think there was like when I was young, I didn't care. Like that wasn't really my. When I
Mhm.
was young, actually, I didn't even care that. You know, I didn't really care to impress people. Like obviously, when I went through puberty, I did. Like I wanted
Mhm.
people to think I'm cool, but other than that, I wasn't like I didn't want to impress people with my. There's a difference, right? Like when I'm going through puberty and in my early 20s, and when I was younger,
Mhm.
it's just the sense of like wanting to fit in, like wanting to fit in with the cool kids or something. That like, yes, I had that, but I didn't need them to. I didn't need to impress them or anything like that. I didn't feel the
Mhm.
need to impress them with something, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, something happened. Like I think in my 20s that made me change.
It looks like, because the change is real. I mean, you said you are agreeable, but you're not. You kind of, when it looks like something within you is like some fire inside us, like, let me say what I think about this. It's stronger than, like, okay, let's sit
Have
and
you heard? Have you ever heard Jordan Peterson talk about this, where he says, you know, because there's a one where him, his wife, and his daughter all take the big five personality test,
okay.
and Jordan Peterson is like high on the agreeableness, and
Hmm.
like people find that shocking, right? Because he's always debating and he's always getting into these arguments with people and stuff like that. And he said that what he realized, like, is early on is that he's so agreeable, so he would just agree with everything, but that will always come back to haunt him at the end. Like,
Hmm.
do you understand what I mean? And that kept happening over and over. So he had to learn to go through the uncomfortable discomfort of disagreeing up front, even though he's naturally agreeable and he doesn't like confrontation. He had to learn how to do that up front so that he doesn't have to deal with the what happens later in the future. Do you know what I mean?
Okay. So then I'm curious if this will
I
influence
think
that.
that's what happened to me.
Okay.
Like I've gotten into so many situations where I'll be like, oh yeah, yeah, that's fine, and then later on, like the conflict will actually come into some happen, because just because I don't want to deal with confrontation doesn't mean that confrontation goes away, right? At some point, it's gonna rise again, right? Like, oh, and then somebody will say, I thought, son, I thought you didn't care about this. It's like, I was just saying that to make you happy. Like,
Mhm.
I didn't really mean it. You know what I mean? Like that kind. Like I've been in so many situations like that where I just agree with somebody because I'm actually very agreeable, and then ended up regretting it later on.
I see.
Like it happens now too. Like I guess you know, like I add so many things in Night Owl Nation because I have this identity of like, like I want, I want to be, I want to listen to the members and I want to give them what they want, and I'm really
Mhm.
listening and I'm really, you know, and then like it doesn't work out, and later I end up regretting. I'm like, I should never listen to them. I
Wow.
should have just gone with my gut feeling, like, you know what I mean?
But I'm now confused because if
What?
you
Did I
know,
confuse you?
yeah, I'm thinking about this trait agreeableness because it would
Hmm.
seem I can find like traits that are
It's like confrontation, right? Like it has to do with people who like don't mind confrontation versus who don't like confrontation.
yeah. Just a second to find one example.
I think just this is what I'm thinking. Like just because you're an agreeable person doesn't mean you agree with everyone. Like it's just you pretend to agree with everyone.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I thought it meant. I don't know. Because obviously you can't agree with everyone on everything, right? Like,
Yeah. So in agreeableness, you have these traits. You have trust. So how much you
mhm.
trust other people that are fair, honest, have good intentions. Then morality. So how much you need to clear things for everything to be transparent. Altruism. Um, so that helping we find helping genuinely rewarding. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
cooperation. This is the confrontation part. So if we dislike confrontations, um, then modesty and sympathy. Modesty is, how much you would say that you are better than someone else. If you would say, yeah, we are all, everybody works for as much as we can. So this is when
No,
when
I
we
think modesty is more like humility. It's like I don't want to. I don't want to be like arrogant. I want to be.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I explained it.
How much of that do you think is like wanting to be liked? Like how much of that do you think comes out of like wanting to be liked? Like here's a post that I posted that I
You mean in general?
felt. Yeah. Let me give you an example.
Okay.
Like I tweeted this and then I deleted it because I thought it was mean, even for my standards.
What?
So what I said was, um, I find it really cringe when people brag about their kids. Like so when I say, oh, like I don't want to take life advice from a 25-year-old life coach or something like that. There's
Mm-hmm.
always somebody, and this happens every single time. There's always somebody who's like, my 9-year-old is so wise. Like my 9-year-old says some really profound stuff, and like sometimes like I learn so much from my 9-year-old. Right?
Mm-hmm.
To me, that sounds like That sounds like narcissism disguised as modesty. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean. Like how much of it is like okay when I actually talked to a close friend of mine about this. Like that, I have a close friend who I talk to everything about. Like there's zero judgment with him. Like I can say whatever I want, whatever the um most outrageous opinions that I have. Like we'll actually talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said like he 100% agrees. Like he thinks it's also narcissism, right? When like it's their way of saying, look how much of an amazing parent I am, that
Mm,
I that my child is like this. That it's like their way of saying that low key without trying to show
yeah.
off, right? And and for some reason I can't say that, right? I'm not allowed to say that. So like so I'll keep my mouth shut because I don't want people to hate me or judge me, or do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. But I think it's more connected to neuroticism.
Agreeableness,
No,
or
the fact that you don't want, maybe this part of cooperation, maybe a little bit part of agreeableness, but also about neuroticism, because in neuroticism you have
my
this.
neuroticism is very high too. They're
Yeah,
both high. My agreeableness and my neuroticism are both
yeah,
high.
yeah, me too. So you have like this self-conscientious part of
Yeah.
neuroticism, which means how much we are aware of what other people think about us.
Like you
So
would never think so, right? Looking at me,
yeah,
like
I would never think
you
so.
would never think that my neuroticism and agreeableness would be high.
Yeah, yeah. Especially about, I mean, about neuroticism, I can understand because I see how you react in terms of when we were changing something in community, when you hear some opinions that are not like
Yeah, I
congruent with the
overthink.
whole picture, and
Yeah.
then I see that your mood changes. So this is what I can relate to. I can see that, but this agreeableness part, no, because I don't imagine agreeable person, because I have in my mind like one really beautiful, agreeable person that is low in neuroticism but high in agreeableness. So he is, like I don't know, a teddy bear that understands everybody. And, yeah,
But that's how I used to be, is what I'm trying to say. And I don't think it's that,
okay.
because they said this big five personality trait doesn't actually change over time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you can work on it and you can try to, you know what I mean? Like, for example, Jordan Peterson, high end agreeableness, but he's actually not, because he gets into these debates. Like, obviously, that's something that he consciously changed, right? He worked on and
Yeah.
he changed about himself. So that's why I think that, like, that's what I mean. If you met me when I was 20, you would actually probably say I'm very agreeable.
So how would, imagine that son
Hmm.
that has a community like this one, what would be different?
Like, if a 20-year-old son started Night Owl Nation,
Hmm.
I bet you it would actually be super successful. I bet you people would love me, and
But
people.
tell me
But here,
what.
but it would be a completely different kind of people. Like, for example, I don't think I would be teaching myth true sandwich. I wouldn't even know what a myth true sandwich is.
What
Like,
would you tell me? What
huh?
would you teach? What would you teach?
I don't even know what I would teach, because I would probably think that
Okay,
a
let
lot
me.
of the stuff that I learned in
Mhm.
the last 20, a lot of the stuff that I know, like a lot of the stuff that, like, I gotten really good in design, copywriting, storytelling, photography, coding, and all these like skills that I've learned actually came at the cost of losing this.
Mhm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I had to be disagreeable in order to create something exceptional. Because
So,
what happens?
oh, is it? So it looks like it's about like taking responsibility and like growing up. So you were kind of, you know,
I mean,
born.
I don't know if that's growing up, because if you go in most corporate jobs, the people do really well are not necessarily the most talented people. They're the ones that everyone likes. Like, I think there's something about that where, because if you look at Elon Musk, you look at Steve Jobs, if you look at this really super talented people, they're usually assholes.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to balance that with, because there's also teamwork, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if you're really toxic, that can actually ruin the whole project or something like that. So I have actually gotten there. I've gotten to a point where I was so toxic that it actually hurt the project. But at the same time, it's a balance, because what I noticed early on in my career is that in most projects, what everybody does, like, oh, I love that story. It's a great job. Oh, I love that design. And everybody's just agreeable, 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 agreeable. And then you end up with this mediocre thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I noticed that like by critically thinking and saying, no, that's not good. Actually, let's find a way to do it better. And like through that struggle of a lot of friction and things like that is where we would actually end up in something exceptional.
Okay.
Do you know
Can
what I
you
mean?
can you imagine
Hmm.
how would, just try to be as like specific as possible. Try to imagine a younger son that is doing that project with five people, and you kind of get this thing and it's kind of amazing. Would you see that it can be better? And if you do, would you say it?
No, I wouldn't even know it because, like, I actually think that all the stuff that I learned, like, because the 20-year-old son didn't know anything. Like, I was a terrible designer. I was terrible at copywriting. I was terrible at everything. I didn't actually see any of it. Like, I was too dumb to see it.
Mm-hmm.
The way I even came to the realization that I sucked and that it can be done much better is through judgment. I had to judge and be like, no, actually, that's not that great. It could be done better. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay. And tell me,
and then you try to do it better, and then you learn something new in the process, and then you try to do even better, and then you learn something new in the process, right? Rather than just accepting the mediocre,
yeah,
which is what I did in the 20 in my 20s.
I'm curious how this is possible because, if we are naive, I guess we learn because somebody, if you're naive, we are going through like with an open heart, then we need to get some kind of confrontation, somebody else to point out that we were wrong or that we were delusional in terms of like what we think how life functions. So somebody needed to debunk our beliefs, and I guess it's many times humiliating experience when you are vouching for some idea and someone just smash you and you need to start over. um, so I guess, I mean, it's not I don't think it's that
I
possible.
think while you're saying that, I think I'm starting to realize what happened.
Oh, tell us.
So I've said this before. Like most of my life, the first half of my life, right until I was like in my mid 20s, like I thought I was stupid
Mm-hmm.
because nobody around me ever gave me any kind of validation. Do you know what I mean? So, but then I wasn't stupid. I think I was actually above average in my ability to learn stuff quickly
Mm-hmm.
and and process things quickly. Like, for example, in school, like when other kids have to like see, like let's say we both get an A, right? But the difference is I got that A without even trying. Whereas in somebody else had to study like all stay up all night studying to get that same A, right? But
Mm-hmm.
you don't see that, right? I don't see that. So I'm just like, oh, everyone gets an A or whatever. Like I don't think I'm special or anything like that, right?
Okay.
But then I think what happened in my mid 20s is when I started seeing. It's not that I thought I was smart. I started seeing how not smart other people are. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand what I mean? And then I got a little bit arrogant. And what started happening, like, and because like I had that humility when I was young, I didn't even feel the need to prove to somebody that I can make a dope website. You know what I mean? I just do the bare minimum. Blah, blah, blah. But then when I actually started realizing that, oh, I can do better than them, right? Like, and I actually did better and then started getting validations.
Mm-hmm.
Because that validation came like in my late 20s to early 30s when I started freelancing and like people started paying me a lot of money and like like all of that validation came later on. And then that's when I realized actually, like, okay, like I can do even better. And so what would happen is like somebody would come to me with a mediocre design. I'm like, oh, that sucks. Like we should do this and this. And then I try to, and then like to live up to that identity, I would even try harder and harder. And through trying harder, I learn more and learn more and learn more. And then as you get there, I actually care. Now, before when I was in my 20s, early 20s, I didn't even care to make a dope website.
Mm-hmm.
But later on, I'm like, no, I need to make the best website. Like I actually care. And then when you care, that's when the more friction comes. Because when you don't care, you're like, oh yeah, that looks good. Well, fine. you know.
Okay. Did you care? Did you care for you to make good best website, or for a client to actually be happy with? Yeah.
It wasn't. It was all about me. Later on, I learned that it's kind of like, because in the beginning that's what happened. So I used to get into a lot of friction with clients. Like even though the website was amazing and all of my peers thought it was amazing, the client didn't like it.
Yeah.
Like, do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, this reminded me of one designer that is really good, and he wanted to make like best logo designs and so on, branding design. So, but then when he gave client to choose a design, there is one that he like put the most effort and he did so much work for that, and client chooses another one. Like, are you stupid? Like, you're going to ruin my career because this goes to my portfolio.
Yeah. So I would get into arguments with clients like that,
Mm.
and to a point where I was like, no, I'm. The client wants to be like, son, can you change this to blah blah blah? I'm like, no, I'm not. Even though they're paying me, their client that's paying me, I'm like, no. If you want me to change that, you can go somewhere else, get somebody else to do it. Like I got into so many fights with my clients, and I fired so many clients like that. Where to a point where it started hurting my business too.
Mm.
That
And you didn't care because you were fighting with clients.
what?
You
No,
didn't.
of course I
No,
don't want to fight with clients, but like
I
like
mean, this sounds extreme. I mean,
mhm.
somebody asks you to put the line here and
Like
there.
in the beginning,
Stop it.
I would say in the first 2 3 years of Night Owl, I probably fired about half the clients. The clients never fired us. I fired them. I'm
No.
like, if you want that, go somewhere else. I'm not gonna do. Like I had this like Steve Jobs, like take it or leave it kind of attitude. It's like I know I'm good. I'm the shit. Take it or leave it.
Wow. I mean, this doesn't go well with agreeableness trait, you know?
Yeah, but you see how I've changed. Like that trait was coming from my ego. The take it or leave it, or like all of that was coming from my ego. Like at that time, my ego was probably at my highest. Like my work speaks for itself. But that's what I mean. Like that's why I've changed so much.
Did you think that because you felt about yourself that you're maybe still, your mid-20s, that you're not smart, or you felt like you were stupid, that if you give that kind of logo or design to your client, that it would mean that you are doing something stupid? So it's kind of from that place.
Yeah, it is completely illogical. I think it's because it's almost like there's a need for me to prove to the client that they're wrong.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense, but I mean, if that's the reason, cool. I mean, you are the one to judge here. It kind of, because it looks like you were triggered and you were processing your own triggers, and some critical parts of you that were you know, activated.
Yeah, if you met me when I was 20, you would probably say I'm a totally different person than if you met me when I was 30. I was a totally different person, like the complete opposite of this person. And then now I would say like I'm in the middle, kind of.
Hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, so what was different when you were 30?
Yeah, when I was like, my ego was down here in my 20s, and
Hmm.
my like humility level, like I
Oh,
was very humble.
okay.
I wasn't arrogant at all. I never judged anyone. I had like infinite curiosity. Like everything was interesting to me. Right now, everything is boring to me. Like somebody will come and tell me, it's like, oh, son, do you know? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yeah, I already know that. Back then, I was like, oh, really? Like I was so curious about everything, right? And then like I went completely the opposite by the time I was 30, and then probably through my mid 30s, and then I realized how much this is hurting me, and then I kind of had to come back down.
Hmm. Yeah. It's interesting how you said that there was no validation till, I
And
mean,
Gigi has seen me through most of that actually, because
what
like when I met Gigi was like the time when I was going from here slowly starting to go here. Like it was around this time.
does she share your opinion on what happened during that time?
I don't know because this is the first time I realized it.
I would really be curious because she knows you the most, to know
She
how.
would definitely say that 10 years ago I was very toxic.
Mhm.
But she would definitely say that I changed a lot from 10 years ago.
Yeah, but how she sees the change, what she thinks about that. So, I mean, it's good that you started on the right foot when your ego was low.
Hmm.
That's maybe why she's
Yeah,
survived.
maybe she would have never even dated me.
Yeah, she couldn't like compare to, okay, there is sun there. There is somewhere inside. Maybe we don't see them right now, but she could hope for. No.
Yeah, around that time it probably also has a lot to do with that. I was at the same company. Before that, I was at the same company for 5 years. So I was kind of hidden. Like there
Mm-hmm.
was no opportunity for me to demonstrate like my skills or anything like that. So that's why I like when you're in the corporate world like that, like you're not getting any validation or any, you know what I mean? Like you just go and do your job and you leave, right? But when I met around the time when I met Gigi is when I quit that job and started working. Like I actually, and that's the thing. Remember, I said I thought I was stupid. I was getting paid in that company that I was in for 5 years. At that company, I started there at $40,000 a year, and 5 years later, I was making $45,000. So not much more, right?
Yeah.
So, so I thought that's all best that I can do. I didn't even look for a new job, right? But then when I started looking for a new job, I started getting all these offers, like way like double what I was making, and everybody wanted to hire me. And like I just basically got offers from everyone, and that was probably the start of it,
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, oh, actually, I'm pretty dope, right? And then when I got the job, and like I started becoming a little more arrogant, right? And then when I quit that job and I started freelancing, and like I started like clients started telling me like how amazing it is, and like I started getting more clients and things like that.
So, are you
And
saying
then
that
they started
money
paying me more.
changed you, son?
Huh?
Are you saying that money changed you?
No, it's not the money.
I,
Because if I got the money without the talent, if
yeah,
I just won the lottery or something, that would not have happened, right?
yeah, I know.
I think it's the validations that changed me.
Mm. Yeah, I see. Especially when
I never gotten validation my entire life until I was 25. Like from my parents, nobody, right?
even, I
Zero
mean,
validation.
you were in school in USA, right?
Yeah. Like even in school. I mean, first of all, like I moved here when I was in the sixth grade. And then when I first moved here, like I don't speak English, right? So I had to start basically learn a whole new language. And so it wasn't like, you know, like, my English is my second language. I'm not going to be doing that and excel in school at the same time, right? So I was like, yeah, I was doing pretty good in terms of my grades. Like I was like probably in the top 5% of my class, but you know, without
Have-
trying.
Did you
But
have friends?
yeah, but I mean, like when you're a kid, it's not like I don't really care about academics, schoolwork, or anything like that. I care more about being cool, fitting in. Like school was not on top of my mind at
Yeah,
all. I
I
didn't
know,
care.
I know, I know. I mean, I'm thinking about my school time, and there was a lot of like validation, like searching for validation and validation from peer group, you know,
But it's
because
a different kind of validation than
yeah, but we need that
for
too.
yeah.
I mean, it definitely builds your self-esteem, because if I know that I have many friends and that kids consider me cool and that I dress nice, I know how to combine colors and
You know what it is?
mhm.
I think my threshold for validation was very low. Like I didn't need that much validation when I was young. And so then when I started getting more validation,
Mhm.
I was like, oh, they're just saying that to be nice. Oh, they're just saying that, right? It wasn't until like in my mid 20s when that validation was backed
Oh,
up
so you were
with
denying.
salary.
Okay,
Yeah.
you were denying. You couldn't
Well,
believe.
because nobody ever validated me throughout my entire childhood, right? I can, even if I do something well or something like that, or you know, my parents would always be like, "Oh, like, oh yeah, you won that award. Well, so and so got
Mhm.
this. Well, so and so's kids did this, right? Like, so it was never like, and it's probably a good thing that they did that because if they kept validating me, I would have probably grown up very entitled. But anyway, like, um, so I ignored validation my whole life, and I think it wasn't until my validation was backed up with money that
Mhm.
I realized that people are willing to pay me. That's when I was like, oh, maybe they are telling the truth. Maybe I am that good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, this is good that you let yourself. This is why I think, trauma, in my opinion, can never be a good thing, because this is a nice like case here that you actually opened up for new experience and open up yourself to actually have different kind of validation, to accept it and to change the narrative that you know you were left with. So but imagine that you didn't do it, or imagine that you weren't smart, or that you didn't apply for another job. We can imagine another person being with low self-esteem,
If I
without.
stayed in the same job forever, yeah.
Yeah,
And
imagine
I
that.
wonder how many people are live life like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because, or maybe they applied for another job, but they don't have these kind of skills to change the narrative they already
Yeah,
established.
exactly.
So it's good in your case. Maybe your parents noticed that actually you will be cocky if they validate
Son doesn't need any validation. That's what they were saying. Probably.
Yeah, maybe they actually judged you right, you
His
know.
ego is big enough.
Yeah, maybe they thought they need to like lower your ego because you were too much full of yourself when you were kids.
I wish I could now go back there though. Like it really, I don't like it when like somebody says something like
Mm.
a negative comment or something like that, and that it bothers me. Like, why should it bother me, right? Like, why would this random stranger's opinion that I don't know what I'm talking about? And it's usually because I make generalizations a lot in my content,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and obviously it's not always true, right? If I say coaches are stupid, like obviously I'm not saying all coaches that are just like, if you're a coach who hasn't experienced something, like for example, if you're a business coach and you've never actually had a business, right? Or if you're um a coach who just became a coach like without any actual experience in that thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Relationship coach, or like a good one is like Instagram coach who doesn't actually hasn't built an Instagram or something like that, right? And somebody was like, yeah, but there are coaches there's like sports coaches out there who hasn't played the game are but amazing at coaching. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, of course, yes, that's that exists too, but that's not the average. That's not the norm. You know what I mean? Like, most likely, the most likely, like a business coach that has zero experience in business is not going to be that good. Or most likely, people, who's actually grown Instagram versus who hasn't grown Instagram, if they're trying to coach somebody on how to grow an Instagram, this person's going to be better than this person. That's the
Yeah.
norm, right? What
Yeah.
they're saying is the exception, and I understand that there is exception, and I'm making a generalization. But that's the thing. When somebody says that, why would that trigger me? Like, I knew people were going to say that, right? So why should that even bother me? But the fact that this person has a misunderstanding that he believes that I'm stupid
Mm-hmm.
really bothers me for some reason. And I wish it wouldn't, right? Like that's
Oh, I
you know
see.
what I mean? And the old me, the 20-year-old me, it wouldn't have bothered me. I would have been like, oh yeah, that's true. That person's right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But you know what um it's kind of counterintuitive because counterintuitive because you said that you felt like you were stupid till your mid 20s.
Yeah, that's probably why I it wouldn't have bothered me.
It wouldn't have bothered you.
No.
You were like, I'm stupid, I accept myself.
Yeah.
This is the conclusion.
Yeah.
I mean, did
And I
that
actually was stupid. It's so funny because with the disagreeableness, with the confrontations, and with that toxicity, like without that toxicity, if I stay like super agreeable, like the old me,
Mhm.
I probably wouldn't know 90% of what I know today.
Yeah.
So I actually was that stupid back then. Do you understand what I mean? And I say this all the time. When I meet 25-year-olds now, I'm like, you're so much smarter than when I was 25, because I was a
It looks
complete
like you were
dumb.
naive and maybe kind of lazy, like
Yeah, I still
in
am.
your mind. So in combination, if you're naive and lazy, it means that you would be like coach potato and you wouldn't have ambition to change something. So
Yeah,
you
I stayed in the same job for 5 years, like smoking weed every day, just repeating the same cycle every day.
Mhm. Why did you quit?
So I towards like the last year I was there, I met these guys in that company that are like asked me to be an extra in their short film. So I worked in a media company where, like, like Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know Walking Dead?
Yeah.
So, or what's the other one? Breaking Bad. So
Yeah.
that shows is from a TV network called AMC, right? So I worked in the company that owns AMC, along with a bunch of other channels. So they were all like producers and people in media, right? So there were a couple guys I met there who were like production assistants, but they wanted to be filmmakers, right? So and then they asked me to be a extra in their short film. So I went there, and I was like an extra, like I was like one of the actors, and I just like fell in love with that whole environment of like the crews, the shooting, like the whole thing was just superficially I thought was so cool. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I want to do this, right? So I went to sign up at New York Film Academy to to do to do film, and then I saw a job opening at New York Film Academy for a web designer. But I just wanted to be in New York Film Academy so bad that I applied to that job. And then while I do that, I also applied at a few other jobs. But until that moment, I never even thought to even apply for any jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was just like, oh, this is my life and that's it. Do you know what I mean? So I think during that time, some sort of a spark has happened where I was inspired to do something,
Mm-hmm.
which was I wanted to be a filmmaker. But it
Yeah.
wasn't like a real passion. It was like a shiny object syndrome. It was more like, oh, this is so cool.
But I don't think so. I don't think so because it shows actually how much our patterns are rigid, and that you couldn't see anything outside that pattern, so somebody dragged you to that place.
Yeah. So like accidentally, I stumbled into it because of them.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
maybe you
And
just.
I've actually done that to other people too.
Hmm.
Like what they did to me, I've done that to other people.
Yeah.
Like I forced my friend to quit his job.
Maybe the whole time in your life you actually needed another person to show you something that is more inspiring for you to just um you know
I actually think that's true about a lot of almost everyone because that happens a lot. That happened a lot at my agency where a 20-year-old intern would come start working for us. And then afterwards, they'll go and do something else. And
hmm
then they will come back and say, like, son, like meeting you has completely changed the trajectory of my life.
hmm
You know what I mean?
yeah, I'm thinking now, for example, in my case, I always explore first. I always like, what's there, let
You
me see.
try it. Yeah.
Yeah. So um but it looks like, for many people something would drag them to it, even though, for example, I don't know, I don't sing professionally, or I don't have like intention to do, but my whole life something is dragging me to sing something, even just when I don't know, walk around my flat, even though I don't know words, I just mumble something. So it's somewhere inside, and you sense it. But it looks like in your case, you're like, you gave up. This is it. This is how life looks like. But you just needed a little push, like small push, just somebody to show you, hey, do you want to be an extra?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But the way I was, because I still know people from those days, they're
Hmm.
still exactly where they are. So I actually think that's the norm. I think that's how almost everyone lives life. Do you understand what I mean?
I guess it also depends from how satisfied they are in their place, because
Well,
um,
that's what I mean. Most people are very satisfied with whatever they get. They settle. I guess is what I'm like. I think most people settle with what they think they can get, not realizing that it's not about what you think you can get.
yeah, but
It's about you going out and getting it.
yeah, it looks like, settling has some, at least I assume, some negative vibe there. Like you settle, like you.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it's negative.
But I see people that are not that much ambitious, but are really satisfied, and I see them. My assumption of them is that they are quite happy together.
Yeah, I'm trying to see other people in my life that are like that. Yeah, but I guess the difference there is they don't feel that they're settling.
Exactly. They are living their life. Maybe if you ask
Yeah,
them,
I guess you're right. Yeah, they're complete. So I guess that's fine. I guess most people will live like that, and that's completely fine. But
yeah,
I guess do you ever feel like you ever feel like like you're with a kid, right? And you have this amazing steak or something amazing, and the kid's like, "Nah, I don't want that. I don't want to try. Nah, I don't like it. I don't want it."
mhm,
Right? And he's like, "Come on, try it. Try it. Like if only you would try it, right?" Then so
mhm,
it's almost like to me when I see people like that, yeah, I understand you're completely happy. Well, the reason why is because you don't know this whole other world, right?
mhm,
And once you see that world, you will not be happy anymore with your old like one. Do you understand what I mean? I think once you open your eyes, like people that are in a toxic relationship or like unhappy relationship, maybe they think they're, but it's because they haven't had like you only know what you've experienced, right?
yeah. I
So when
mean,
I see people like that, I feel a little bit sad because I'm like, oh, you just don't understand. You
but you
haven't
never
been
know.
there.
I mean, you can one,
I'm like that too, to a certain degree, with certain things.
yeah,
Like where somebody would be like, "Son, come on, come on, come," like, oh, let's say somebody's going on vacation or going to a party or something like that, and I'm like, no, I don't want to. And they're like, come on, come, and then I finally go. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you took me here. But do you understand what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah, I mean, I thought I was perfectly happy before I went, but now that I actually experienced and come back, it's like, oh, like I know that I'm missing something if I don't go. Do you
yeah,
understand what I mean?
yeah. The only thing that we think is that we know that this is right for this person, and this is where we kind of are definitely wrong because we don't know.
But I'm not saying that this is right. Is not what I'm saying. I'm saying everyone that I see, there's a much. I'm not saying that the people that I used to work with that are still stuck in the same company, same job, just getting incremental raises and living a very dull life. I'm not saying that that person should quit their job and be an entrepreneur. But what I'm saying is, yeah, maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you want to be a gardener. Maybe you want to do like you don't have to do the same thing that I did,
Mm-hmm.
but you're definitely stuck, and to be honest, with those people, I don't know if they're completely happy or not. I mean, like, why do you think there's like this whole world of epidemic, right? Like, why do you think divorce rate is higher than ever? Why do you think suicide rate is higher than ever? Why do you think depression is higher than ever? Like, I don't know if most people are happy or not. Do you know what I mean? Or most people are fulfilled or not?
I mean, this is
I
so,
think they're really good at portraying that they're happy to the outside world, but
yeah.
is everybody really completely fulfilled, happy, like living life to their full potential? Or
I mean, of course not, but
I know I'm not.
yeah, I guess
Or
Mm,
if you don't want to those things, right, and you want to just meditate and just, like live like a monk or minimalist, then do that, right? But they're still stuck in this like rat race of like, I want a little nicer car. I want a little,
okay, I see. I
bigger
see.
house.
For
Like,
you, yeah, yeah. So there is. I don't want to bother with too much theory. Just
mhm,
one concept that we have. Our personality is consisted of three parts: parent part, adult part, and child part. So they're like three circles in transactional analysis. So so the thing is, this adult part is like a rational part of us that doesn't
it's
have
our
so
conscience.
yeah, that we doesn't have many emotion there. They are more like rational, and they are trying to see other parts of yourself, like this parent part and this child part, and to make an execution of this. So
What's the difference between the adult part and the parent part?
a parent part is more like I should, I must do this. It's consisted of what we were taught to believe. So I should be a good psychotherapist. I should be a good person. I should work on this. I should watch when I cross the street. So everything that is like in terms of like attitudes that we like strong attitudes. And
What about adult?
the point is that adult needs to check with other parts, to check with the child. We have desires there and emotions, our fears also. So we are kind of adaptive there, like we want to make things like secure before we act on something, or we are rebellious. We want one day one thing, another day and something different. So when people are stuck, it means many times that their adult part is not active enough, because they cannot, it's kind of a suppressed by other parts. So we are circling in ourselves, and we cannot make like
So
rational.
the adult part is me. Like, so, like I'm adult part, but within me, there's a parent and a child.
You
Like the
are,
adult part is the one that's making all of this, like responsible for taking the actions and actually doing something.
yeah, yeah, let's say like simplify
Because
it.
to me, like adult and parent sounds like, I mean, the words sound like, because parent is an adult, right?
Yeah,
So that's why it was a little bit confusing.
I know.
So adult part is the me, and then within me, there's a parent and a child. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, not really. If you wanna like draw it,
Hmm.
it is like it
It's
is like
hard for me to differentiate the difference
this.
between adult and parent.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so the adult in the middle is me. That's what I'm actually
Yes.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the parent is, um, for example, I should work and I should earn this much money and I
I
should,
should keep the safe job, and I shouldn't
yes,
go after my dreams and my passion.
yes.
Yeah.
And then imagine that you're at your job because you should have a safe, secure job, and you were taught your whole life by your parents that you should have
Hmm.
stable job and your career, blah blah blah. So then you have desires in your child, like I want to see, I don't know, I want to visit this and
I
this
want to
country, I
travel for a
want to
year
travel.
and
Then
live out of my van.
imagine that. So then the adult part need to see like what are these guys telling me? I mean, I cannot make this work. So then, because adult cannot find consolidation between these two, then they're fighting one with each other. Like one day, like I'm quitting the job. Like I'm going, then I'm researching.
Mhm.
I'm going to travel with this, and then I'm calling a friend.
So
If
they flip
friend is
flop.
trying to,
Uh,
yes, yes. So we flip flop between our states. Um,
So when somebody's like that, it's not that they're not being their authentic self. Because you know how people say, "Oh, you're not like if somebody's like working at a job and like not traveling the world and like not listening to their
Mhm.
child part, and people are like, oh, you know, you're not living your authentic life or something like that, right? That's what people say.
Yeah.
But in reality, they are living their authentic life because they're both authentic. Both adult and the child are both authentic to them, right?
Yeah, I guess their experience. I mean, what we have right now, it's authentic to this moment. I mean, if I don't have capacity to regulate my emotion, I will scream. So at this moment,
Hmm.
in some case, this is like the reality is what authentically is possible. Um,
But I think people confuse authentic with your child.
yeah, yeah. I mean, just for the
But
sake
can
of
I
this,
ask you a question?
yeah.
So one thing that doesn't make sense to me is, so from what I see is, you ever heard of the term keeping up with the Joneses?
No.
Okay. So a lot of people don't quit their cushy, $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year job
Mm-hmm.
because they bought this house and they have this nice car that they have to make payment on.
Yeah.
And they can sell the house, they can sell the car and go live out of the van if they want to. But oh no, their neighbor just bought a, you know, Tesla,
Mm-hmm.
so I need to buy a Tesla too, right? So is that adult part or is that child? Is that parent or is it child that's saying, oh, I need to buy a nicer car because my neighbor did it? Because
Mm.
that child part is the reason why the adult goes and does this boring job that makes $100,000 a year or whatever it is.
Yeah,
Do you understand what I mean?
I see. I mean, it depends. So I simplified this ego states so much, but
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of this conversation, I think it's mixture of a parent and a child because imagine, I guess in their parent there are some attitudes like how person of their status should behave and should what standards they need to maintain in their like social
Mm-hmm.
circle. On the other hand, uh,
That's the parent. That sounds like child
I mean,
to
we
me,
can
because
have,
that's such an immature way to think, right? Like,
it is, it is. I would say that it's parent because I didn't want to complicate things, but
mhm.
for the sake of this conversation, in the child, there is another parent and adult and child. There is like a regressed version of it. Yeah, yeah, I know. I know for this, I know that how much you like to simplify things. That's why I didn't mention it. But as we grow up, when we are kids, when we are
Mhm.
baby, we don't have these ego states. We just build them. So when we are 6 years old, we have these like kind of simple parent and adult and child. So this parent, when we are 6 years old, is thinking in terms of
I know
fairy
what you mean. Yeah.
fairy tale and a witch. So this is good
Yeah.
and this is bad. So then our in our child we have many fears and desires. So we need to this
Like the
small,
child version grows up and the adult version
yes,
also grows up. And then
yes,
within there, there's both.
yes. And there
So
is one,
within our adult version, there's there's a part of us that's saying that I need to keep up with the Joneses and keep a nice car. And then there's also
exactly,
another part of us that says, no, you need to save money and, you know, don't.
exactly. So when we are 6 years old, adult part at that in that period is called, and this is why I always think about this, a little professor. So imagine a little professor that has 6 years and trying to figure out world like, okay, for somebody to like me, I need to do this.
Uh,
And they're full of magical thinking that they would, I don't know, be loved if they are perfect at something, if they have, I don't know, the best, if they eat everything from their plate, their mom would love them, or they would say, "Oh, you're a beautiful boy, super."
Hmm.
So then imagine this child, this little professor, trying to adapt in their school, and they're growing, but they're also, testing their theory. So if somebody is going to the world with already tested theory, if I don't know, that mother had high standard for them to have great marks, to I don't know, have praise from their teacher, and then they were brag about how much money they earned or spent on them. This is something that, some theory somebody is going to collect with other new things, for example, with their friends, like who has more money, who has, I don't know, more expensive
And
sneakers.
it's not even that like your brain is thinking of all that. Like your brain is
Yeah.
like genuinely going like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you.
Yeah.
Oh, you lost weight. You look so great. I'm so happy." You know, the whole like the woman's
Yeah.
competitive thing coming up. "Oh, you look so great. Oh my gosh, you bought this nice bag or whatever it is, right?" I'm
Yeah.
so like I think they actually truly believe that they're happy for them. But then somewhere deep down inside, there's something that jealousy or envy is still there, and that's like, like maybe that passive aggressive side comes out like unintentionally or something, like, or some when somebody's all of a sudden, like, let's say I had somebody who you know used to work for me and now he's way more successful than me, right? Of course I'm happy for that person, but deep
Mhm.
down inside there's something that triggers, right, that are, and I think that's why I don't, like, I find it kind of like cringy when everybody's going like, "Oh, just be happy for everyone, just
Mm,
happy for their success." I'm like, that
exactly.
I don't think that's human nature though. Like, I think everybody wants to go around Instagram pretending that they are, but I think there's something deeply within us that are jealous of successful people. Do you know
Exactly.
what I mean?
I remember when I was in high school and my mom's friend um, was commenting. I don't know who was there present, like what
Hmm.
woman was present, or if it was my friend. I don't remember. But I just remember she was commenting, "Oh, you look so good." And the moment this person turned around, I noticed her face like she was scanning her like this. And I'm like, she did. So it was so like spontaneous and not something
And I
just
don't even think that they realize that they're doing that. It's
probably.
just so within our human nature that it
Probably.
even fools us. But I
Um,
think so. I guess all of those parts that we subconsciously do,
mhm.
like, that's what I consider ego. Because obviously we don't want to be like that, but
Yeah.
something within us is making us do that, right? So I guess the real question is, so what? So what do you do about it?
Yeah.
So let's say you don't want to be jealous of your neighbor,
Yeah.
but something is triggering you when they buy a new car. You
Hmm.
don't even know why. What? I'm happy for them. I don't care about nice cars, but then something is deep inside you is triggered. So what do you do about it?
I mean, the first thing is to become aware of these triggers, because triggers are just our reaction to something. So
Hmm.
not to make a fuss about it, or not to try to um
Hide it.
yeah, to hide it, or to
But do you think that most people don't recognize them, or they choose to not to recognize them? Because for me, I recognize them. It's very it's very clear. It's very upfront and clear. I can see myself getting triggered when I see a comment
Mhm.
like that shouldn't bother me, but it bothers me. Like, whenever I notice something that shouldn't bother me, but it does bother me, something is like I recognize it's there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When it's problematic when things are conflicting. Imagine you
Hmm.
are mm, jealous,
Hmm.
but all your life you were taught that you should never be a jealous person. So that jealousy is so wrong and it hurts people, and you heard so many stories about that. So many times when things are conflicting, we use our coping mechanisms to deal with it. So it can be, for example, to rationalize, like, you know, to kind of just say, yeah, everybody should do, whatever they're doing. Everybody have a life, so I don't care. So to kind of be bigger person in that situation. So if that
Even
happens,
though inside it bothers them.
yeah, in many cases, even they would not uh, accept that they are doing that deep down. So it's
Well, I obviously I can't speak for other people, right? But for me, it's very obvious when. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
For
I
me,
mean,
it's very obvious when I'm judging somebody. It's very obvious when I'm
think
jealous.
about
I,
think about, for example, your mother. Would your mother say that she is a jealous person?
oh, my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she's like me, so I mean, she's not like. I think people are jealous of probably different things, right? But I would say, yeah, definitely. Like for me, like one of the ways I cover it up is like if I see somebody that's more successful, like at least like I probably still do it now, but a lot more when I was younger. When I see somebody so like doing really well, making a lot of money, I'm like, oh yeah, but I don't care about money. If I wanted to make money, I can make money. I just don't care about money. But like deep inside, I know that something is bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I really don't care about money, it shouldn't bother me at all, right? And I wonder how many people are actually aware of that, but they just choose to admit it. Like choose to not admit it. Like for example, right now there's this whole all these like spiritual like gurus and all these like influencers that are like, oh, just all about kindness and love and gratitude and like
Mm-hmm.
all of these and like, oh yeah, don't judge anyone and judgment like Abby, judgment detox and all of that, right? Like how many people are actually do inside judge other people or feel that jealousy or envy or all of those things, but they're aware of it and they're purposely like, you know, like it's not even suppressing it. It's almost like to the outer world, pretending basically, pretending
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm so like, oh, I just want to love. I just want to be kind and like, really, you
Yeah.
have 0 ounce of jealous, like you have 0 ounce of judgment. I don't believe that, right? Like, but on social media world, it's like, oh, love and kindness. I'm so grateful this morning. Oh, this morning I woke up with this, seeing this butterfly, and I am so grateful. And like, shut the fuck up,
Oh,
like.
I hate it. I hate it. You are enough. Fuck you.
Yeah, I just a friendly reminder that you're amazing.
Just a friendly reminder. Like the whole
I
sentence
don't
just,
know who needs to hear this today,
oh,
but
it's killing me. But the whole introduction. I don't know who needs to hear this, but
like I don't think that those people are not aware. When I think a lot of people are aware of those things. It's
Mhm.
just that they're really good at hiding it. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's where passive aggressive, a lot of times passive aggressiveness comes from. Like when somebody's like, you go to brunch and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you got this, you got a new job. I'm so happy." Like in a almost like a
Mhm.
patronizing way when they do that. Like I feel like they know that they're doing that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking about these ego states. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking about cases when people are not aware of it. So for those that are like,
Even when they're not aware of it, I think they can sense something, right? Maybe they're not aware that that's what's happening,
mhm,
but that they can sense some sort of a discomfort or some
yeah,
sort of like,
many times now that I think of it, I didn't think about that till now. So for people that have that are workaholics, so that have this work ethic, and their parent and adult ego state is very very present, but child not that much. They don't know how to rest, or they don't know.
mhm.
um
They don't know how to have fun. Like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So for them, many times they will not register that they are jealous, but they would register something, for example, as an injustice. So so they would feel like,
Like they do it to themselves, and then they like, oh, blame it on the work, or blame it on like, oh, I don't, I just don't have the time. Like,
imagine a person, yeah, imagine a person that is working 4 hours a day and then
see,
asking. Mhm.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, because I do that, but I also I'm aware when I'm doing that. Because sometimes I do that, and I'll tell Gigi like, no, no, I got to do this thing. I was like, oh, I don't have time, but I'm at the same time I'm aware that I'm doing that, and I feel bad sometimes afterwards. But I continue. I want to, maybe you're saying something else.
I didn't
Finish.
I think maybe think about two different things. So imagine a person working 4 hours a day
Hmm.
and has a lot of free time, but
Hmm.
then they are calling a friend that has 3 kids and that are also working, I don't know, 4 times a day, four
Hmm.
hours per day, for something. Hey, can you just check this email just to see if I can send that? And this person is like, okay, I will check it, but they're freaking out like, oh my god, like this is ridiculous. I mean, does she know that I have like 3 kids and so many things to
Hmm.
do in my day? So they don't, so they feel this injustice that somebody should know that they should be considerate, but they don't see that as jealous, and maybe deep down
Ah, okay.
they would
Yeah, it's
like
like
to
almost like
have,
resentment. Yeah.
yeah, they would like to have that kind of freedom to just have their needs all over place and to ask from other people, but they don't do it. So deep down, are they jealous? Yes. Do they know that? No.
Yeah, it's almost like you don't understand what I'm going through. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's
It's like,
so to them it feels like, oh, this person just had like this person is single and has all the free time in the world, so they just have no idea what I'm going through, right?
yeah, they're
Where
not
whereas
considerate.
in it's actually them being when they were like, oh, I wish I was them. I wish I was in that place too. That,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
I mean, I can definitely resonate with people like me going like, oh my gosh, these employees, they just have no idea that what I'm going through, right?
Hmm.
Because I used to wake up at 4 a.m. and go to the office at 5 a.m. Like I would go wake up at 4, go to yoga, and then go to office at 5, and then I would stay in the office till like 7, 8 p.m. Right? And
Hmm.
my employees come in at 10, and they go home at 6, and sometimes like I don't even take paycheck because I don't, we lost money that month or whatever it is. So like, so to me in those kind of situations, I'm like, oh, these and these employees are like so lazy and whatever. I'm like, oh, they have no idea what I'm going through. Like they think that my life is easy, and like they have
Mm.
no idea what I'm going through. I'm doing so much, blah 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 blah. But I don't know if I'm jealous of them because, like you were saying, subconsciously, am I jealous of them? Like, because if you say, would you want to be in that place? I would say no. And if you ask that mom, would you want to switch place with that person? The mom would also say no, right? Because
I
they
mean,
made the choices that they made for
yeah,
themselves, right?
but don't do it that literally. It's not like they would want to change, like not to have kids and then to live that
Hmm.
to live their life. But think about if somebody is in
Maybe
burnout.
it's more like an envy. Like I'm envious of that person, but I'm not willing to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, jealousy is not a good term for what we use it for. Jealousy when somebody
Yeah,
can take something from you. So then you're jealous
yeah,
because somebody can take something from you. But
yeah,
envious means that you want something that somebody else
yeah,
has.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, so what we do, um, it's not like she would like to exchange with her or you with your employee, but that kind of relaxing part, that kind of maybe you know just to have
I
that.
know that is I could never have that in my life, but only if I could, something like that.
Yeah,
You know
imagine
what I
if
mean?
you the vibe of imagine this woman if she had someone to, for example, her mother to help her with kids, to, I don't know, to nurse them, to take care about them while both parents are working, and then to take care of them, to bring them to kindergarten and back from the kindergarten, and then for them to have, for her and her partner
Free
to have
time.
Fridays off to go for a party, and then Saturday morning to sleep how much they want. This is the vibe that actually is there. And maybe if in your case, when you were waking up at 4 a.m., it's a lot. I mean, it's a lot to at 10 a.m. to already have 5 hours of work. So, so I guess part of you maybe wanted not to have that stress, maybe to have that freedom to like just collect the paycheck and for things to work and
Hmm.
for you not to worry.
Yeah, of course.
So,
But that I don't know if that triggers me though. I guess yeah, it does. Right? Like that. Like it would trigger that busy mom. Like it would trigger me. But I guess that's kind of like so. For me, what had to happen was I just had to I had to learn to live with it, and over time,
mm,
um, because like I think what and maybe the same thing will work for that mom too. For me, it literally got after 10 years, it got to a point where it literally didn't bother me at all because it was very obvious to me that yes, but like there are certain things I voluntarily chose to sacrifice, right? Like, and that's the reason why I wouldn't switch places with them, right? Like,
yeah,
one of the things that I like entrepreneurs that I mentor, like, like even my friends, like when they get to that state, I'm like, hey, if your employees work like you wouldn't have a job. Like, like we really need to have that mental shift of like, I'm doing this because it's my company. I want to,
yeah,
and I'm the one who benefits from it. They don't benefit from it. You know what I mean?
yeah. So many times I think because I work alone, and when I talk to one friend and he's working in a so cool environment, So they have like 5 guys in the office, and they are nobody's like they have total freedom. So they are I don't know, um, throwing at each
They're
other
having fun. Yeah.
and they're having fun, and I mean, it's company with, I don't know, 100 people there, but they're part of office. They kind of made their own jungle there. So every time I ask him some question, some random question about some advice, he gives me some updates, because they talk, they walk through the
Hmm.
company, they eat together, and
Hmm.
he just update me with some new things. I'm like, I miss that, to have
Hmm.
people around me in that casual conversation, to just hear some new things, to catch up with people. So definitely it's a trigger
So
that,
you feel a little bit of FOMO.
yeah, yeah. Once, even 5 years
I
ago,
feel that too, actually. Yeah. But go ahead.
5 years ago, once this was the first time I actually was tempted to apply for a new job in some IT company, because I was like, okay, they're investing in their employees, and then I will go and then I will talk to all of them and have fun with
Hmm.
that. So I almost applied. I didn't apply, but I was checking the ad to see maybe to go for it. But it's definitely that need for, big, um, you know, surrounding to be surrounded with people and to just randomly chat.
So that's like that's your version of like something you envy,
Hmm.
but you don't use you see yourself as a victim or something like.
Well, you know what happened next, actually? I mean, I definitely crave for it.
But also, grass is. Have you ever worked in an office before? Like, have you actually
Well,
worked in a?
only when I was intern, and just a little bit, and I said never again, and so I
Yeah. So
haven't
I
done.
mean, because I feel a little bit like ever since COVID now that we're working from home, like working from home, like I feel that a little bit of FOMO too. And then when I see some of my friends who work in the office and they're having fun and they're socializing and all of that, I feel that a little bit of FOMO too. But at the same time, it's kind of like when I was working in the office, like I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to work, and I wish I can just be home and like just like on my own and get this shit done. And like that's what grass is always greener on the other side means. Remember we were talking about grass.
Yeah, yeah,
Like no matter what situation you're in, you're always gonna envy the other.
yeah. The thing is, actually, what I changed after that is, because I noticed that I like this big gathering when there are a lot of people that kind of know each other. At least they saw each other once or twice, and then we just randomly chat. So uh, this thing, um, brought awareness to my need, actually, to connect with more people, because I have stable connections that are established, and I have like safe path, but no challenges. So the whole thing with this community was a challenge, to talk with new people. Like every time you have your own group, and then you talk about something, then you say what you think, and you don't know what's going to happen. But especially in Serbian, because I'm more free to just say what I have on my mind. I have vocabulary to kind of back me up. So then my boyfriend has so large um, group of friends in his hometown. So like instantly, in like half an hour, you can get 10 people together for a coffee in like a town where you need 5 minutes to come anywhere. So there, it was for me so awesome. Just when I'm there, it's like everything is fine because people come and go, and you go for one bar and then the other, and then someone is making a barbecue there, and I'm like, okay, let's go there. So, and this is actually what kind of gave me place to fulfill that need that I cannot fulfill at my job, you know.
Okay,
Definitely.
so for me to fulfill the, because basically what you're originally how we started talking about is like maybe something that triggers you
Mm-hmm.
subconsciously, right? Something that bothers you, right? Like that. Before we were talking about, first step is you have to be aware of it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you were aware of it, and once you were aware of it, like you realize that there's this other way to
Yeah.
solve that,
Yeah.
whether it's like by going going to hang out with these people or whatever it is, right? Like so for a case like me, where but when I get triggered when somebody leaves a
Mm-hmm.
comment disagreeing with me or whatever it is, and what I want is just not to get triggered, right? What are you saying? Like I just ignore comments, don't read comments,
I mean,
because
some.
I am aware of. I feel like to me the awareness is not the problem. I'm very aware of all the things that trigger me, all the things that bother me. I'm aware of exactly why it happens.
Mm-hmm.
I guess now the question is, now what?
Yeah. So, how your trigger look like? So, what happens inside in terms of emotion, in terms of what you think about? Um,
Like I feel the need to explain myself.
okay.
Like but I don't want to. And actually, sometimes I get so frustrated because I just don't have the time and the capacity to explain myself, right?
So,
Like,
imagine that you have the time to explain yourself. What yourself
mhm,
you would? What would you like to say?
like a lot. Like that's why I think I need podcast, because like it would take me 3 hours to explain myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah. So, but what's the feeling? Did you feel kind of ashamed for somebody pointing out?
It's not shame. It's like it's more like um this superiority thing. Like I need to teach you a lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay. I mean, yeah, this reminds me, I need to teach you a lesson. It reminds like this shadow part of us,
Yeah,
because in our
definitely.
there,
I mean, I'm almost ashamed to admit it, but that's
yeah.
what it is.
So shadow part means like we want to kind of,
I'm better than you.
yeah, yeah.
Like
This is the shadow. Yeah. So,
I'm better than you. I need to prove it.
and imagine to really fulfill that fantasy in your mind. So how does she feel when how does she responds when actually you are, I'm better than you, and what's
Yeah, I
next?
mean, it never
How does
works.
she, but no, 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 no. In just imagine it in your imagination. Imagine that's true, and you prove your point. You had chance to prove it, and you proved it. How this person?
And then that person actually accepted it. Like it's like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay, son, you taught me a lesson. Thank you so much. Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Is that person
No,
like?
no, you mean like if that's what happens, how would I feel?
No, 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 no. Just to describe me that person actually. So they're kind of humble,
Oh,
right?
you mean like the person that I feel like I need to teach a lesson to, or
Yeah, yeah. How do you, in your imagination, imagine that person?
well, that's yeah. Well, first of all, because like that's why it threw me off a little when you said she, because
Mm-hmm.
Like the person that I was thinking of in this case was a he,
Okay.
first of
All
all.
right. All right.
But let's say it was a she, because like it could also like it happens with she also.
Yeah.
Um, no, I guess it doesn't. It's not even that satisfying actually. So that's why because I know that a lot of times I've been in situations a lot where I felt like I needed to prove this person wrong, and I did,
Mm-hmm.
but it still didn't feel good afterwards. So I know that that's not the answer, and that's why I wish I just didn't get triggered in the first place. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay.
Like,
So.
I don't know if you heard me say like, would you rather be right or would you rather be happy? Right?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather be happy, but for some reason, somewhere deep inside is not letting me be happy. It's like making me want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I know that I want to be happy. I don't want to be right,
Yeah.
but I can't control it for some reason.
So the thing with the
I mean, I
shadow.
guess
Mhm.
that's kind of how it is. I guess with all anything to do with ego. Like it's not that I'm voluntarily I don't think I can voluntarily just turn on or off my ego when I want to. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just gonna happen.
So the thing is, when in what you explain, like actually that proud moment when you are more powerful than you know than some other person because you know something they don't know. There is a lot of pleasure in there, in that kind of dominating moment. So
But actually, afterwards, it doesn't feel good.
yeah,
I
because
guess that's
many
what I'm trying
things
to
are
say.
involved.
Yeah.
It's not just that. That's
Hmm.
why it's not the point to act out on that. It's point to get to know this part of you that actually gets something. So when I was doing some exercise with my therapist, and there was some proud moment. I had some blanket there, and I was walking, and she said like show me that walk, because I said that I feel like proud, like I was hunting some deer from a forest. Now I have it in my back, and she said like okay, walk it and feel what is happening, what's that feeling. And I was walking proudly like I have this deer here, like I'm so proud and you are miserable there. and 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 there was a pleasure, something that was fulfilling
Mhm.
there, because I was in contact with my shadow part, that I'm not going to like act out on other people to show them how much better I am. But what I think is what I was searching for is that where is that satisfaction? Because this worked
So
for me.
you're saying that we need to satisfy our shadow, and once we're satisfied our shadow, we wouldn't feel the need to.
There is our shadow is telling us some story
Mhm.
that the more we know about it, the less we will be, let's say, the less it will have control over us. This is how I understand it. And I really like because I watched the Jordan Peterson interview lecture on Lion King, and how he explained um Mustafa. So as he was standing on that rock, and how
Oh yeah.
integrated he
It's
was.
so awesome, right? Yeah. And
Yeah,
even like his facial expression, like the
yeah,
firm, like
exactly. One thing that he said he compared his son
Hmm.
with
But
him.
who's like innocent and he
Yeah,
doesn't have that. Yeah.
yeah, because he's like just
He's just an
absorbing
idiot.
the world. He's absorbing, but this guy is standing, and he is standing confidently.
Yeah.
It means like there is an integrated aggression in him, which means that
Mhm.
he actually worked through his shadow. So
Mhm.
it means that he can be gentle and he can be aggressive, which means that he is the one that is controlling one or the other.
Yeah. Like he
So
has the yeah, he has the capability to be aggressive, like in order to protect and all of that, but he can
yes,
control it.
yes. So actually, this reminded me of that, how getting to know like what is there and why is there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what?
Hmm.
I'm so glad you told me that. I think I found my answer. You want me to tell
Really?
you? Yeah. Because I've done this before, so that's how I know it'll work.
Mm, tell
So
me
you're
about.
saying that pride,
Hmm.
it's not something that I should suppress, like meaning ignore. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I have to actually integrate it and I have to feel
Exactly,
that, right?
exactly.
And I think, by the way, isn't Jordan Peterson's like Lion King shit so amazing? Like,
Yes, yes. I will watch that again.
so good. But anyway, so remember I told you that I would go into work early and then they come in
Hmm.
late. Like I used to have this like bitterness towards my employees, but like over 10 years, it's changed, and I've completely gotten over it to a point where I don't feel that at all towards them anymore, right? But one of the ways I was able to do that is, and it didn't happen overnight. It took some time.
Hmm.
But one of the ways I was able to do that was I actually took pride in the fact that I can wake up early and go to work early, and that they can't do that. But I have this sense of ownership and this responsibility that I'm like a parent trying to protect them, right? And
Hmm.
that I actually got the pride through there. Do you understand what I mean? And once I did it, I'm not gonna feel resentment towards my dog because she's just poops and eats. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna like be bitter at my dog for doing that, right? So I mean, I'm not saying my employees are like a dog, but like almost in a similar way, like or like you wouldn't do that to your child, right? Like you wouldn't be jealous of your child, like
Yeah.
so that's kind of how I integrate it, and I feel like I can do the same with this commenting thing. Like
Hmm.
when somebody's like attacking me or something like that, like I can
Oh,
be like Jesus, and I can be like, oh, yeah, I understand, and I almost have to integrate my pride that way. Like it's like
hmm. So that,
I don't know if that will work or not, but I feel like I mean, but do you understand what I mean by what happened with my employees thing? Like how I was able to, because that did used to trick my employees did used to trigger me,
hmm.
like those people who disagree with me in the comments triggers me.
Hmm.
Like my own employees did trigger me like that, like almost as if I'm competing with my own employees or something like that, right? But I've gotten over that.
How?
I just told you, like by looking at them like they're my children, not like
Okay.
they're my competitor. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay. So,
Like like I can
so,
get my sense of superiority by arguing with them and winning an argument. Like that's how I was trying to get my sense of superiority.
hmm.
But the way I feel my sense of superiority is kind of like Mufasa, right? Like I I actually still feel the sense of superiority
Hmm.
because I'm protecting them. I'm taking care of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Like,
Okay. So I mean, it definitely makes sense because you didn't feel them and their inputs as a threat. You felt as
Yeah, exactly.
from, I don't know, friendly place or more
Yeah. Yeah.
comfortable place. So so the thing is,
Like,
you
so now if they say something stupid or like something like that, instead of judging them, I can actually look at it like I can look at it in a playful way. It's like, oh, that's funny that you think that.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So you could let your playful side to engage with them and not to.
Yeah, because that's what it felt like. It's like, imagine trying to have a debate with a 6 year old. Like, that makes no
Mhm.
sense, right? So,
So when
and
asking,
that's kind of how I feel like right now. When I get into this comment battle with like people on TikTok or YouTube or
Mhm.
Twitter, I feel like I'm engaging like in a debate with a 6 year old or something like that, which does like it makes me feel stupid. Like,
I see. So um, what I want to say, I forgot. Mm, mm, mm.
like the pride thing. Like, do I still need to?
Yeah, yeah. I was asking you, how did you do it in terms of like specific things, what you did in, if somebody asked you the same question, you're triggered at your work, what would you do? Would you like say, take a deep breath, like, it's fine, son, like, chill, like, they're just asking you questions.
I actually think me, because I didn't used to go into work that early. I used to just go into work like an hour before them or something like that. But me actually going to work early actually helped with that. Like, the thing that I felt like, I feel like I can't believe I have to work my ass off while my employees are just, like that mom that's like, resentful that her friend only works 4 hours a day and like I can't believe I have to do that. Like, if I was in that situation, I think what would help me is if I actually become a super mom. So I even, do you know what I mean? I even do more for my kids and do even better at my work. And by becoming a super mom, I would actually, instead of being jealous of that friend, I would actually kind of feel bad for them. Do you understand what I mean?
Well, I mean, okay, it looks like you would put a lot of work into some structure. um,
No, it's not work. It's like, because I feel like when you're in that resentful place where you're resenting your own employees, you're also not productive at work. Like, imagine I give you a task to do that's going to take 4 hours. And the whole 4 hours, you're like, "Ah, I can't believe I have to do this thing." Ah. Like, you're doing it with that attitude. Versus I give you a work and I'm not forcing you to do it, but you're like, oh, you're so proud of this thing and you really want to do it well and for your for your own self, right? With pride. Like, the result is going to be completely different.
yeah.
Do you understand what I mean? And I feel like before, when I was like in this resentful mode, I was like that
Hmm.
kid's like, oh, I can't believe I have to do this complaining or blah. But what happened was a mindset shift has happened where I actually felt like proud of what I'm doing, and I felt proud of like building this business and providing a job for these people. And without me, like their parents, their family wouldn't be able to eat, right? Like,
Hmm.
this kind of sense of pride. And it's like, okay, I need to wake up early and just go into work so I can take care of these people. And do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when I was working with that sense of pride, I was more productive. I was happier. Even though I was like doing more work, but I was more fulfilled with my work.
Okay, so it
So,
means that in that term, you're talking about, these ego states. So you made peace with these adult made peace with parent and child, so you integrated your perspective because you
Yeah,
kind
I mean, when you said the Lion King example, it just that's when it clicked. I'm like, oh, that's exactly what I did in that situation.
yeah,
It just felt like that when you said the Lion King state. Like, I was like, oh,
yeah,
I think that's what
it
happened
means,
to me.
yeah. So if we think about ego states and Lion King, so his adult can integrate what parent and what child want and crave for and what they think, so they are, absorb. It's not like they're kind of flipping from different point of view, and then one day you're triggered, another day you're not triggered. But like
Yeah.
this mom that is, I guess for this mom, if she's tired and she cannot maintain, she doesn't feel good about her energy and herself, and so different parts of her life in her, so Lion King in her life, first of all, might be to find place to rest, place and time
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
rest for
Hmm.
herself, and then to kind of see what she expects from herself. Maybe she expects too much to be a good mom, good wife, to look good, to have I don't know, clean house, and to do everything on her own. Maybe there is like a pressure from her parent ego state, and on the other hand, the child ego state that maybe once, like, I don't know, she was an artist, and then she wants career in that area, but she actually got pregnant, so now she has 3 kids and she never got back to, her art. So in this means that it means that she's not integrated, and when somebody is even putting her more pressure, it's like triggering even more.
Yeah.
So in her case, it means like the adult means to see like, okay, what's real, where's my focus? It's going to be on my children right now, it's going to be on trying to find someone to help me, it's going to be in my career, so where I am, and then whatever comes out, it's like an integrated, because we cannot maintain all, but we need to.
I'm trying to relate to that. Obviously, I'm not a mom, so I'm trying to see what that feels like from my experience. But it's also the same thing, right? Like I think when I was first dating, when I first got married,
Mhm.
like here's the thing. Like I think I'm happiest now than ever in my relationship. And that's because I've accepted, like, because there was a period of time I'm like, oh, maybe I could do better. I could have done better, or like, maybe maybe I settled, right? Like, kind of if that mom feels like, oh, I had to give up dancing because of my kids, right? Then she's gonna feel like she had to make a sacrifice, or she had to settle, or something like that, right? So what you're saying is she needs to be clear on what
Yeah,
like
yeah,
what is it, was it your decision, or like, can you still do dancing if you really really wanted to,
yeah,
right? Something like that. So for me, like, I think I had to be very clear on that. Like, and I think once you're clear, and once I said, okay, like, this is the person I love, she's like the best one in my life for me, and once I accept that, and I'm gonna you know do my best to love her as much as then I actually became happier in my relationship. And same thing with the work thing, right? Because I actually think that that mom, once she accepts it or integrate it, and she's like, oh yeah, I love my kids, that's why I'm doing this, and I'm running this business because you
mm,
know so there's no, it's because I want to, there's no one else to blame for this or resent for this is what I want, this is the and once she does that, I actually think she'd be surprised to see how much more she can get done in the same amount of time if her energy level is there,
yeah,
rather than all day going like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to work with this client and I have to do this, oh my gosh, I have to feed my kids now, and like, then your kids gonna, you're doing both half-ass, right? Kind of something
yeah,
like that.
Yeah, definitely. So to make
But
peace.
I have to do, yeah, with this kind of me getting triggered for whatever it is. I have to integrate myself.
So
I have to find my inner Mufasa.
it means like why are you doing what you're doing, and
Yeah.
to, I mean, in community, it's um we're not your employees, but it looks like the vibe is there. It's
Yeah, I
your.
mean, I don't have that problem within the community, I guess. It's really with people I don't know.
Mhm. Yeah. So um I don't know, the I guess I guess
I guess I do have a little bit of that in the community too. Like, you know what triggers me? Is when I tell people to do the assignment and they don't follow, either they don't follow my instructions or they don't do the assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Ugh, I'm trying to help you." Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yeah, so I guess if you are coming from a place of this person that actually like cares about other people learning storytelling, and you care for them, then you would care also that they have their pace, and you can force them a little bit, but you are there like I don't know, like a stable figure, stable authority.
Yeah.
If they want
I
you.
think what I need to do in that case is I can't prove, because like again, it's my need to like prove myself or something like that, right? Or it's that pride, right? The superiority thing. Like, I can't do that by trying to control other people, right? The only way I can do that is to
Yeah.
I have to figure out the right ingredients and I have to do some scientific experiment to see this kind of assignment works. This
Mm,
kind of assignment doesn't work. This exercise works. Oh, when we do the small groups like this, it works. When we do it like this, like I have to actually put in the work and do figure that out, and
yeah.
then try to prove it that way, not by trying to control people, right? So
Yeah, you are in your lab, and
yeah, I'm much more like a scientist,
yeah.
you know.
So the adult part is like a scientist. They don't have this kind of like personal attachment to one solution. So
Yeah,
um, I guess we all need this part to, you know, we're stuck in, when you see us being stuck in a loop, it means that our adult doesn't have that much energy. We are more into other parts. So they are, we're flip-flopping like on a seesaw, like parent, child, parent, child. So
I see.
some.
That actually that happens to me a lot.
Mhm.
Just naturally, not about one specific thing, but I told you, right? People call me bipolar.
Yeah, mainly. So tell them that they should diagnose anyone. So yeah.
But I can kind of understand why, right? Why they say that, because like you know because of my emotional status, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm going from child to parent, child to parent, child to parent.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's more connected, from my opinion, to neuroticism, because then we
Mhm.
have these changes in mood. like we out of the blue think one thing, and then it builds up some fantasy, and then we go to another, and we can like make these cascades a lot. So it's more that trait.
But don't you think that's related to the child parent?
Sure.
Because I feel like, for example, the grass is greener on the other side thing. Like, one of the things that I know for a fact that hurts me is when I consume too much self help content, or like when I watch too many Gary V, or this video of like YouTuber that says like, here's how I got 1 million subscribers in a year. Like those
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is how I, this is how, like, those kind of like um
Mm-hmm.
those kind of
So
videos.
how do you feel after that, after watching them, whatever of those?
Well, it's not after watching that, but what happens is, if I don't watch any of those, consume or read those books or listen to any motivational speakers or anything like that for like a week,
Mm-hmm.
then I become pretty clear on what I need to do and what I want to do. Like,
Okay.
I'm pretty clear and firm on what needs to be done, and it's pretty stable because it's all based on my real life experience. It's based on me talking to members, teaching and seeing what's working or not, and like it's all based on my actual experience, the real life experience, right? And then I start watching one of these videos, and I start going like, maybe I'm doing it wrong. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so actually, I feel like that side is, I don't know if that's the parent or the child,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm thinking it's the child.
It looks like it kind of uh, tackles some fear. Maybe you're not doing things well. Something is not working. And then you flip to a parent like, okay, I should do that. And then when you have that kind of strict narrative, it's usually a parent that's trying to decide something.
Hmm.
So so I don't know, it looked like that when I was hearing it. So, and then when parents starts to like force something,
I feel
then Mhm.
when I watch those videos of like, somebody's like, oh no, you got to wake up 5 in the morning and you got to do this, and wow. And then people, like, right now, I feel like I'm when I'm just focusing on my work and stuff like that, it's pretty clear that what I need to be doing is create an amazing program. I can see that it's working, and I can see what I need to do next to make it work, and what I need to try. And like, it's all very, very clear to me, right? And then I go see like um some video from this marketer who's like, oh, this is how you can raise your revenue, and this is how can all those things, right? Or like, even out when I watch Alex Hormozy, where she's talking about like, like in business, like this is how you get the optimum, like, profit and all of those like things. It almost makes me feel like, oh, am I like a FOMO, right? Some sort of a FOMO, or like something like that. But I know that it's not true. I know that, like, and this is what I mean. Like, when I actually just focus on this, what I need to do, what I know I need to do, in a long enough time, even like everything else just happens. But if I just keep flipping back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, that's when it doesn't work, right? Like, oh, I need to do a live webinar, and I need to run ads and convert people and blah blah blah. Like,
Hmm.
do you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of like half-assing it now. Like, I should actually double down on what
Yeah.
I know is good for me, and just stick with it, rather than flipping back
Yeah.
and forth.
When you said that Alex Hermosi, however
Hmm.
his name is, um, I had some weird vibe when I watch him, so I don't watch him. I don't know. I think today I watched something. I mean, for quite some time I didn't hear anything from him, but this thing, like, he doesn't do anything beside his work. So he only works. He works,
But there are a lot of people like that.
he rests,
Like
and rest of
Gary
his
Vee's like that too.
his rest of his time he is watching Netflix or something that is like some dull content, and that's it. That's his life. So this is what he said in his video. And
And he
so,
goes to the gym, obviously. You
yeah,
look at it.
and but he's like, for many people they would say that this is not healthy, but I'm satisfied with this. This is me.
Mhm.
And so I think that he's quite extreme. So when somebody is so extreme in their lifestyle, and then they're putting that as something they are advising, or maybe he's not literally advising, like, don't have a life, just do what I tell you, but um their narrative is suggesting you putting that energy like on the table for you. And for a regular person that is not working that much, they feel like they're losers, they need to do more. So that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
for somebody who has
But
his,
that's a very common. He's not the only one like that, though.
of course he's not, but
Yeah. But that's why I think those content is not very helpful. Because do you know what I mean?
I mean, any
Even
kind of,
the spiritual guru one, they're extreme the other way. So that's why I just feel like that's what I was saying in the beginning when I said I'm doing the worst when I'm consuming personal development and self help content.
okay, so would you say that actually you, part of you search for right answer, and then when you see somebody that is claiming their answer and they have that kind of, they look like they're sure that their answer is right, this trigger your fear in your answer, in your like intuitive, path.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like a FOMO. It's like maybe I should be doing that too. Oh,
Mhm.
maybe I should be running ads. Oh, maybe I should do this in my sales message.
Yeah, so
When you know what I mean?
it's like a
Oh,
doubt.
maybe I should be manipulating people in my sales message too. When I know that my brand is the opposite of that. Do you understand what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think we should listen to our heart and just try it and see it and then tweak it as you go. And when you actually learn by doing, trying
Mhm.
and experimenting, I actually think you'll see much more success than trying to consume this content and try to follow those instructions. Do you understand what I mean?
I see. I see.
Plus, I think consuming that content, because there's so many different narratives out there, now you're just learning those content and you're not actually trying this stuff, is where you're actually going to learn it. So that's why I think, and I'm not the only one who says this. I know somebody who said as soon as they stopped consuming those contents and reading those books, their actually business started doing better.
Hmm.
And also, like, I know for a fact that if I talk to most of my entrepreneur friends, most of them don't consume any of those content. They don't even know who Alex Hormozy is. Do you know what I mean? They just they work, they do their work, they go home, they hang out with their family, they watch Netflix. They don't go on like listen to podcasts and all of this stuff. You know what I mean? And they're
Nice.
uber successful.
Yeah, maybe there's something to it.
I actually think that when I look at people who are like Mel Robbins fans, Gary Vee fans, like those fans, like when I look at those people, like they're the least successful people that I know. And they're actually like the least happiest people that I know. If I in my own life, if I look at the people that are the happiest and the most successful, none of them even know who those. They don't listen to podcasts. They don't buy courses or books. You know,
Yeah.
they just live life.
Okay. I mean, this sounds like too general, you know, because
Obviously, like nothing in life is general, but it is true in general.
I mean, if
If
you
I look
have
at
like,
people, yeah.
yeah, in terms of people who are fans and people who are doing the work. So if you're a consumer or you're a creator, this is different. But we have so many creators
Well,
that
when
making
you're a
art.
consumer, you're gonna be less of a creator.
Yeah.
You
So
know what I mean?
actually,
Like,
is your point consumers are not successful?
no,
No?
I don't think so. And it's the same thing in everything. Like, if I look at the people who are the most obsessed with buying the latest sneakers, you know, spending money buying a nice car, and like going out to these nice restaurants and knowing what the latest trend is, and all of those people, like my most successful friends don't know any of that. They don't buy the latest trend sneakers and any of that, right? Like it's just, I think you, like, when you're in that consumer world, you're constantly being brainwashed by marketers, basically.
Mm, yeah.
Anyway, anything you wanna? How do you wanna
Um,
conclude?
I would
What's your
like.
conclusion, doctor?
Mm, I like the question, like how would things look like if we imagine like younger version of ourselves? What would be different? And this is something that I think about a lot these days because a few days ago when I was with my parents, I visited my primary school because of voting, and they needed to vote in school. So I was showing to my boyfriend my school, and we went like upstairs, downstairs, and there were some pictures like of some students there, and I was like from different years. I was like, let me find if I'm there. So I was like searching where I'm. So I was like, so what? I found actually three pictures. I mean, were not a lot of pictures, but three pictures from stage when I was acting Alice in Wonderland and something else. And I was like, I'm at this wall. I was so proud, like I'm a celebrity there in my school because when I think about that period, I remember my fears, but also I found a way to, you know, to work through them and actually to apply for that play to be there and for other plays. So I really enjoyed that. And I wasn't nervous. Actually, I wanted it. So, and I was comparing that
Do you
to,
feel like that,
Mhm.
like that side of Jelena is still there, or
it
not as much?
it's still there, but when I am in safe environment. So when I'm
But
around
that
people,
was that a safe environment for the play when
I
you?
mean, if you're having a play in front of, I don't know, 200 people in your school, I mean, it's not safe. And I remember a guy from my class actually sat in the front row and was asking me questions and speaking to me while I was at that stage. So just to confuse me. So even that didn't
So
stop.
you think you were more brave back then?
Yes, yes. I didn't think that much about what.
And do you wish you can kind of kind of like I was saying that I wish I can go back to the old son, right? Like, do
Yeah,
you wish that you
I
can go
wish
back to
that.
the old Jelena?
I wish that. Um, I see now that I can do.
I wish that too for you.
Thank you. I think that back then I was more impulsive, and right now I need a lot of prep for me to do one step. So it looks like I need a lot of, I don't know, a lot
Maybe
of.
because do you think throughout your life being impulsive has backfired on you a few times?
Definitely, definitely no. Because if you say something stupid and people laugh at you, if you are, I don't know,
Yeah.
like I imagine Gigi, just
Yeah.
whatever, somebody laughed.
Yeah.
But if I go home and I think about that for next 5 days, and I'm embarrassed to see that person
Yeah.
that embarrassed me in the eye, so then it's much more. It hurt me more than
Maybe Gigi has. Maybe Gigi is low in neuroticism. That's why, and
I'm
you're
sure.
high in
I'm
neuroticism.
sure
Uh,
she's low in narcissism. So I need a lot of reassurance for something to do. But I see it's everything is there. Just I need a reassurance for for that to show up. Yeah.
okay, so let me ask you a question.
Hmm.
So who's the parent and who's the child in that situation? Where, let's say, for example, you want to put out content and maybe
Hmm.
do a podcast or whatever, and you know let's say build. I don't know if you want that or not, but let's
Okay.
say you want to build your you know career as a therapist,
Hmm.
but then something is stopping you, right? So who's the parent and who's the child there?
Yeah. I think the child is afraid, so they're kind of in the corner observing things around them, and then the parent is like, okay, we'll make this perfect, and then you can do it. So I
I
can.
thought you were gonna say it's the opposite. Like, parent is the one who, like, your child is the one who actually wants to just put out content and do all of these, take risks,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
the parent is the one who, like, calm down, child. Like,
Oh, you mean like when I was a kid, or right now? If I
right
will.
now, right now.
Well, right now, I mean, you have also in your child, you have fears, you have desires, and you have fears. But if your desires are overlapped with your fears, then you will not, you cannot be courageous. So
So how would you integrate yourself? Like, what would an integrated Yelena look like? Like your inner Mufasa.
yeah, I don't know. For now, I mean, I'm so proud. A few days ago, I wrote on a paper, like this year. There is some kind of like introspection paper to what, to list things that you did this year. And actually, the whole thing with this podcast and with me being fine, that there is something on YouTube. Yeah, and you said maybe some stupid things, and it's out there. So I mean, I was proud on that, and also that I went to Croatia to this body therapy retreat, and that I met a friend, and she came here from Croatia to visit me, and we are now really good friends. So many things that are in my life, I actually was courage, but maybe there is not the outcome I would like to see the results. And I know that also you would like to see that, and some people in community that I'm in touch with, they would like to see some outcome of that. So this is the part when I kind of I disappointed a little bit. But on the other hand, I see that things are moving, and also with my singing lessons, where I'm more, more expressing myself when I sing. In my therapy, I can ask more questions. So I see that in some, like, little by little. If I'm going to live 300 years, this would be quite enough time for me. But so if I imagine right now that I am Mufasa, I guess I would post things. I would create things, I would post things, then I would maybe have some small band to sing and in some local pub because I like it. And I would maybe post about that as well. And I don't know, I would say random things. Maybe I wouldn't even care if I say it in Serbian or in English or for who is this message. I would just post things how they come, so without that much
Maybe,
thought.
yeah, maybe your integrated self would be proud of being imperfect or something like that, or
Yeah,
proud of just letting
yeah,
yourself be public and
yeah,
without the need to have everything like polished and
exactly.
perfect.
Yeah, I think you said it. You put it really in like one sentence. The thing is that probably I'm ashamed of how actually chaotic I am, and how
You
I
should be proud of that. That's
exactly.
the best. That's the best part about you.
Exactly. It looks like this is it. Musafa would be proud on their cows.
Because
So,
I can see a little bit of that. Like when we, as soon as we hit the record button,
mhm,
I can see a subtle change in you. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
the 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 private version of you almost seems like childlike,
Mm-hmm.
like a very like a wild, like,
Mm,
like, and that child version of you is so fun and so charismatic and so like smart and so like so profound. And then as soon as like the adult version with the record and the adult version comes into play,
yeah,
it's like, okay, more like teachers here now. Do you know what
exactly.
I mean? So you should actually be, the part that you're ashamed of actually is the part that you should be proud of, you know. So maybe
Yeah.
that's the integrated Mufasa version of Jelena.
Yeah. The thing is, then I know that many people will not like me, because I know that, and
What?
this, many people
What?
will not, because you have this funny me, but also you have this, um I don't care to engage, so I find conversation boring. I will not be there, so I don't care about XY person. So I guess it will, or I don't care to engage in some conversation more. So I guess it might come as a rude, even though
Like,
I,
oh, Jelena just doesn't care. Like, kind
yeah,
of like that.
yeah, I
Like, oh,
think, yeah,
she
my
just does
fear,
whatever she wants. But I don't know where that comes from. Like,
I mean,
what gave you the idea that people don't like that? First of all, that people would even think like that, right?
I mean, if you
And number two, that
Mhm.
people wouldn't like that.
um I guess this is so in my parent ego state, you have this vision of a good girl. And
Yeah,
this
I really think that's it. Like I think it's, and I actually think that most women that I talk to are like that.
mm, but the intensity of like imagining what other people say about you because you were rude, and it's true that you were rude at that moment. um it's insane.
It's so funny to me because like I can't even. I don't think you could be rude if you tried. Like for example, like remember when we were the first ever time. I think this was like our first small group leader meeting, and it's like one of the first time I've ever talked to you.
Okay.
And we were talking about something, and I explained something, and you were like, mm, "I don't like it." That was like the best. First of all, number one, because I think you really broke the ice for everyone, not just for
Mhm.
you, but for everyone to let them know that okay, it's okay to disagree with Sun. Number one, right? And everybody like loved that, right? And that's the to me that's the part of the Jelena that's like the best. And I feel like maybe you feel like that's the part that you think people are not gonna like.
Yeah, but when the thing is, if I can back that up with
Hmm.
knowledge, then I can be proud on that part, because I had argument why I don't like it. But many times when you're chaotic,
Hmm.
you just randomly say something, and many times it is stupid, it doesn't make sense, and you will get like backfire for that.
I know, but the reason why I said I don't think you can be rude if you tried, and I also don't think that you can come off arrogant or or even like she doesn't know what she's talking about. I don't, the reason why you can't come off that way is because by like naturally you're already the type of person that would like if you were wrong you would just admit that you were wrong. Do you know what I mean? Like
True.
and so I just if you just let all of that out, I think you would be surprised how people react because I think that's kind of like what we actually need today in society, like in just in the online world especially, is for somebody to just be like, well, okay, I was wrong, without the ego of like trying to defend themselves or do you know what I mean? And also like also to just you know be silly and just say, oh, I don't like it. Like I just feel like that type of authenticity is so missing. And here's the thing, right? Most people can't even like at least with you,
Hmm.
you can do that. You can completely be authentic and do that in private conversations, right? When we're in a small
Hmm.
group or whatever it is, right? Most people can't even do that in a private conversation. Most people wear a mask even in a private conversation with their friends or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that you can already do that in like offline is already a one step closer
Hmm.
than most people. So
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to like go into your shadow and bring up something you've never brought up before. I'm just asking you to bring whatever you're already doing in the offline world to the online world, right?
Yeah. This might be a New Year resolution. So, okay, not
Okay,
caring for English
looking
or
forward to that.
science.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'll think about it. I mean, thank you for being here with this process, and I really hope at some point that the outcome will show up.
Okay. Always a pleasure, Jelena.
Me too. Thank you very much.
Enjoy the rest of your
Is this the last time we see each other in this format? In this format? I mean, just to.
Oh, that sounds so sad. No. I think we should. I think we should. Well, let's talk about it.
Okay.
I'll stop recording. See you, everyone.
You.
See you next week.